The voice is not coming.
Good morning and a warm welcome to one and all present here.
वक्रतुण्ड महाकाय सूर्यकोटि समप्रभ निर्विघ्नं कुरु मे देव सर्वकार्येषु सर्वदा।
I, Ms. Shushma Kindalkar, your host for today, would like to welcome you all for today's webinar on National Safety Day. National Safety Day is celebrated on 4th March every year. It is a day dedicated to promoting awareness of safety and health in the workplace, community, and beyond. It is a day to remember why we all are here. So let's start today's day with a small safety video which shall pass a good message to you all. In the workplace, it is one critical moment where that one mistake can cost you your life. Without the use of his hand, his life drastically changed. His freedom was taken away. That's what accidents do. They impact quality of life, not just his life, his family, his spouse, his workplace, etc. And so this webinar is conducted to highlight you and give knowledge of safety in the field of aviation, nuclear, and oil and gas sector. Thank you. About Dr. Sundar Kataria. He is the Chairman and Managing Director of International Certification Services Private Limited. He has done Mechanical Engineer AMIE, Honorary Doctorate into Business Management. Experiences into Rajasthan Atomic Power Project, India's first nuclear power plant, RAPP at Rawat Bata, Kota, built by Indian engineers. Worked as a nuclear scientist for 11 years and successfully completed and commissioned the plant. Engineers India Limited, first batch of engineers to develop Bombay High offshore oil and gas field, mega offshore complex platform, trunk and submarine pipeline, underwater inspection and oil and gas equipment, etc. DNV World. He worked for 17 years at various capacity for the certification of fixed offshore installations, submarine pipelines, onshore projects, and personal qualification. ICS. He is the founder of India's first certification conformity assessment body established in the year 1999. Provider of total quality solution, certification of management system, ISO, inspection, testing, and training qualification of personnel. He has also received Lifetime Achievement Award for the contribution of the corrosion technologies from NACE International by NIGIS under NACE USA. Also worked as a social worker, protection of life, asset, environmental and safety. It is my pleasure to invite you, Dr. Sundar Kataria, to virtually inaugurate today's session.
शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तु ते शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं कुरु त्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
कुन्देन्दु तुषारहारधवला या शुभ्र वस्त्रावृता या वीणा वरदण्डमण्डितकरा या श्वेत पद्मासना या ब्रह्माच्युत शङ्कर प्रभृतिभिर्देवैः सदा वन्दिता सा मां पातु सरस्वती भगवती निःशेष जाड्यापहा।
It is my pleasure to invite Dr. Sundar Kataria to give the welcome speech.
Very good morning, delegates, honorable, eminent speakers and friends. I, on behalf of Sundar Jesaram Kataria Foundation and International Certification Services Group Company, welcome you all to the celebration of National Safety Day 2023 by joining National or G20 MSME virtual conference organized by Sapnutsan Meet. The National Safety Day theme this year is our Aim Zero Harm, focusing safety of the nuclear power generation and oil and gas sector industries. There are a number of speakers from all over India to share their enriched experience on safety culture, safety practices to safeguard life, property and asset and the environment to protect our Mother Earth. Safety starts from the home to the workplace. We are very much aware and exercise while crossing the road, looking right and then left to know the hazard and then prepare ourselves crossing the road in between as well as looking at the signal. In India, every year approximately 1.5 lakhs people die on Indian roads, which translate on an average of 1,130 accidents and 422 deaths every day. 47 accidents and 18 deaths every hour as per the year 2022 information and data. The major industrial accident took place long back as the Bhopal gas of hazardous gas was leaked and that shook the world as well India. India has been fortunate that no nuclear major accident has been reported for last 6 decades of nuclear power operation in India. There has been 3 major accidents in the world, that is in USA, Russia and Japan. Similarly, oil and gas industry are another hazardous industries covering onshore and offshore. Reported 3 major accidents at Bombay High since the inception of Bombay High from the year early 2070s. Few offshore oil and gas sector accident has also reported. However, no data is available for downstream petrochemical refineries, fertilizer and pipeline. This conference is focusing mainly safety hazards, safety management system and safety culture in India for nuclear power generation and the oil and gas industries. We wish the organizer all the best and smooth proceeding of this virtual conference. Zero harm. Thanks for your active participation by the delegates from all over India.
Thank you so much, sir, for highlighting on the importance of safety. So let's begin with the webinar. Safety by choice, not by chance. Let me call upon our first speaker, Dr. Santosh Datar, who shall enlighten us on the topic Occupational Health Services. He is Occupational Health Physician, qualified as MBBS Diploma in Anesthesiology, Industrial Medicine, Hospital Administration, Postgraduate Diploma in Medico-Legal System. He has also done an ABH SSR course. Experience is into training in occupational health, hospital administration and medico-legal issues. Lead auditor for ISO 9001-2015 and BS OHSAS 18001-2007. He has overall 35 years of experience in occupational health and industrial hygiene. We welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Sushma, please enable my screen sharing.
Yes, Sawan.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You can
Yeah.
start. Just make it to full. Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks Sushma for the kind introduction and the opportunity given. ICS, I have a long association. So today I'm just going to cover something brief about the general things about occupational services.
So, sorry to interrupt you. I request you to on your camera, please.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. Occupational services at work site in general and to oil and gas and nuclear in particular. So basically, let's see what is occupational health. It's a promotion and maintenance of the highest degree of physical, mental, and social well-being of employees in all occupation at all location. The two words are very, very important. And it is taken from the WHO definition of health. There's the physical, mental, social well-being. Okay. So what are the occupational health center? It should refer to any medical facility at any workplace. It could include a factory, a mine, a construction site, office complex, warehouse, docks, drilling rigs, offshore or onshore, etc. So, so it's a very, it's a exhaustive definition that it will encompass any workplace where people are working. Now, this is a neglected space during planning. After the office is built, after the factory is built, then it is seen, oh, where we can fit the occupational center. Then some area is found and doctor is asked to work there. That should not be case. It should be planned when you are already building a new factory, or at least when you are innovating or when you are redesigning. Generally, it is seen as a cost center and not an investment. So that is another drawback. So how do we determine the occupational center requirements? There are various factors. To highlight a few. Of course, the nature of workplace, what you are doing there. Applicable legislations, Factory Act, Mines Act, BOCWs, and state rules. And of course, the new labor code which is coming, when it is ratified, it will be applicable. What are the type of manufacturing activities? Manufacturing, service, office, warehouse, etc. What are the nature of hazards? And here the HERA document, which is the mother document for managing occupational health and safety at workplace, hazard and identification risk analysis document, which will come in handy. And we have to make provisions in the OSC depending on the nature of hazards. Of course, potential for causing disaster situations. And of course, in nuclear and oil and gas industry, it is a potential. It has a potential for causing disaster situations. And most important, distance from the nearest advanced medical care facility. So if your facility is 1 hour away, 2 hours away, then you have to make provisions. It is 5 minutes away, okay, you may make provisions suitably, but it is 1 hour away. I worked on ONGC rigs, and the only course was available was by helicopter flying the patient. It may take 2 to 3 hours. So no, we have to be very careful about that. Now, what are the functions of the OSC? Again, I repeat, it's not a cost center, it's an investment center. So we, of course, curative work that is main, accident, emergency, and routine sickness cases. Because as a doctor, we have to establish rapport with your patient, with the management. So when you help them when they are sick, you develop a rapport, you develop trust. But most important for a doctor or for the occupational center in the industry is a medical surveillance. The preventive services, occupational services, which would include medical surveillance. That could be pre-employment examination. You want a fit person to be on the job. He or she should not be risking himself or others while working. Periodic examination, all of you know it, annually, most of you undergo. For exposure examination, that is, if the employee is exposed to hazard, then no, he is sent to the doctor per request. The employee is not behaving very erratically, he is not following SOPs, or he is taking frequent leaves. Then the supervisor or manager, as a request, will send it to the doctor for examination. Return to work fitness, very important. That after any injury or prolonged injury or illness, the person should be again assessed whether he or she is fit to work. And in many companies, they do an exit medical examination also. Medical record storage is another important area, and it's legally also required. we have to now switch over to the electronic medical records. Unfortunately, many states do not accept the electronic medical record. The concerned people insist on a hard copy. No, that mentality should go away. Electronic medical records digitally signed should be acceptable. No, it should be environment friendly. It should reduce the paperwork. So we need to change the mindset of the authorities and make them accept the electronic medical records. Training and health education extremely important. Uh, a healthy worker is a productive worker. Of course, and we have to train him. We have to train his family also. Give health education impact. So he or she is healthy. The family is healthy. And of course, training is on various topics. For example, people working in the emergency response team, we have to train about the first aid. People working in the, say as a conservative worker, we have to train them about the blood-borne pathogen. We have to give vaccinations. We have to keep records of that. Advice to management on health matters. That is very, very important because management may ask, like suppose this pandemic is now fortunately over. So at that time, everybody faced a lot of challenges and management ask you, advice on the health matters. Collaboration with the stakeholders. It could be safety. We closely work with safety, with environment department, with operations, with HR, with cafeteria and all that. So it has to have excellent collaboration with the stakeholders. And the most important contribution to HIRAC document. All of you know what is HIRAC, hazard identification and risk analysis and control. Now during my audits, I have found many times the most of the HIRAC document covers all the acute hazards like trips, falls and all that. The doctor is not involved in the preparation and these chronic hazards are missed out. Okay. Chronic hazards due to sound, due to noise, due to any chemical, they are missed out. And sometimes, some wrong words are written like, deafness. The hazard is written as, the effect is written as deafness. Now it should be NIHL, noise induced hearers loss. So it should be scientifically correct. And it is extremely important to involve the occupational health center, doctor and nurse in the preparation of the HIRAC document. Now design, of course, as I said earlier, it should be preferably at a planning stage or at least doing expansion on redesigning, because once everything is planned, it's very, very difficult to make changes. Now, where should be the OSC located? Especially in a hazardous industries such as nuclear and the oil and gas, it should be away from area of main activity. Because something happens inside the plant, the OSC should not be affected. Otherwise, it will not be able to render help to the injured and ship them to the hospital. So this is very, very important that it is away. You may have satellite clinics in a very large industrial setup where the traveling time to the main clinic itself is 10 minutes. I've seen those setups. So maybe a satellite clinic where a nurse, qualified nurse can give a first aid and ship the person to the main occupational health center in an ambulance. Easily accessible, it's self-accessibility. The road leading to OSC should be wide enough. And why that is so? Because if there is a multi-casualty incident, we will see that later. The road should not itself become jammed. Otherwise, the movement of the traffic will be affected. And it will not be easy to reach the patient to the occupational health center and then from him, send him over to the hospital. And entry and exit roads should be separate. These are all, small points, but they are very important. And you realize the importance during emergency. That entry and exit should be separate to facilitate smooth traffic. So ambulance comes in, the vehicle comes in, patient is uploaded, first aid is given, and then is shifted to the hospital from the other road. So there is no traffic jam. Now OSC infrastructure, there are many, many points. I'll just cover some main points, like of course the reception and waiting area, the consultation room. It depends on the size of the facility. It can be 1, 2 or whatever number of doctors you have. If you have visiting specialist at the center, then you can have that additional consulting rooms. Very important is emergency and observation area. It could be I have 1 bed, it could be I have 10 beds, it could be at 20 beds. It all depends on the size of your size of your size of your plant. Of course, room for diagnostic facilities. In case you are having room diagnostic facilities at your occupational health center, then it could be basically X-ray, audiometry, lab, pulmonary function test, etc. Okay. Now, many industries they have a setup like they have occupational health center, and outside the factory there is a hospital if it is remote. And the hospital also caters to the nearby community. So the hospital may have all the diagnostic facilities, and the patient is referred there. Since everything is okay, as long as the all the facilities are provided, whether at the occupational health center or at the nearby hospital. Designated space for ambulance. This is very important, and the ambulance should be in shade. It should not be standing in sun. Otherwise, in a hot weather, once you directly load the person in an ambulance, the ambulance is already heated up. It will take some time for the AC to cool it down. And most important is the triage area. I will come to the triage area later on. What are the other requirements? Basic and advanced diagnostic equipment like stethoscope and all that. Emergency care equipment like AD. All the factories should have a AD, automated external defibrillators, which are extremely important to revive the patient in case of a cardiac arrest. And as all of you are reading from the newspaper, this cardiac arrest has become very, very common. People are just falling dead suddenly. We call the SCA, sudden cardiac arrest. So this is a life-saving instrument. It should be available nearby. The number will depend on your size of the plant. Patient transport equipment. Now, many times I have seen you just have some canvas stretcher. That's all. No. Especially if there is a danger of injury, falling from height, etc., etc. There is a injury called cervical spine injury, and if the patient is not moved properly, it may result in cutting of the spinal cord, and the person may become paralyzed neck downwards. So what we need is a spine board, a hard board, and scoop stretcher. BLS and ALS ambulance. BLS is basic life support. That means it is just it has all the necessary equipment to shift the patient, and ALS is advanced life support, commonly called as a cardiac ambulance. So cardiac ambulance will have additional facilities such as cardiac monitor and defibrillator, ventilator, etc., etc. So all major accident hazard units, especially if the travel time to the nearest hospital is long, then they should have a ALS ambulance. They may have BLS ambulance, but they should additional have ALS ambulance. But just having a ALS ambulance doesn't suffice. The person should be trained to operate all those advanced medical equipment. And the man behind the machine is important. So a qualified manpower, a qualified doctor, MBBS with AFIH doctor, and the qualified nurses. So qualified manpower is extremely important. It's very, very important that you have qualified people and experienced people, so they are able to manage all the situations very quickly. Now triage area, what is triage? Triage is like a sieve, that you have suppose 50 people coming to the hospital or the occupational center. You can't treat everybody. So somebody has to triage. So we triage in such a way that red is immediate attention required, yellow a little deterioration, green is okay. The person is injured, but it can be managed. Uninjured, that is many people come there, they are apparently uninjured, so we make them stay there. And of course black, where obviously there is the person is dead. So it should be near to the OSC, and to be activated use only in case of MCI. So it should be kept, suppose it is a training hall, yes, you can use it, but within 5 minutes you should be able to activate it, clear the area, and can be used as a MCI. And in the board should be kept. So this is the red area, so red area should be near the hospital, OSC, yellow area, green area, and uninjured area. And this triage is a dynamic process. Just now the person is in green, but after half an hour he can go to the yellow category. So we can talk about triage for 1 hour, but for lack of time I'm just mentioning it. And of course robust MERP, that is medical emergency response plan. So risk assessment, as all of you know, is the basis. You should have your MERP based on the risk identified at the workplace, and this MERP should be separate for the OSC, but it should be in align with the disaster management plan of the plant. So triage plan and triage area we have discussed. Optimum use of resources, internal and external. Like the doctors, the manpower, the consumables, the medicines, IV fluids, bandaging, the external hospital. Very important is a transport matrix. How do you shift the patients? Suppose 50 patients are there. So you utilize maximum available. Your ambulances, call for outside ambulances, cars are there, buses are there that can be used. Staff training, of course, I cannot emphasize the importance of staff training. And of course, testing and updating the MERP, that is the mock drills, all of you are aware of that. So summarizing, I would say occupational health services, it's an investment, it's not an expense. Proper planning and infrastructure is needed. Optimum utilization of resources is required. And your robust MERP, medical emergency response plan, aligned with the disaster management plan of the plant is required. So we'll take the questions in the panel discussion. Thank you. Over to you, Sushma.
You don't need to know the whole ABCD of the safety. It will save you if you follow it. Always be careful. Thank you so much, sir. Protect your employees with actionable advice on how to prevent fires in the oil field. So now I call upon our second speaker, Mr. G.S. Baveja. He is a freelance consultant and auditor, trainer, coach, and mentor. He has done engineering in graduate, MBA in safety management and construction technology. Experience into a qualified tutor from Asian School of Teachers, Bangkok. He is an effective communicator with excellent relationship management skills and strong analytical leadership, decision-making, problem-solving, and organizational ability. A dynamic professional with over 52 years of rich experience in engineering, project management, material, energy conservation, sustainability, and team management. We welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Sushma. First of all, I must thank the organizers to invite me for talking about oil and gas sector. But at the same time, what Dr. Suparia has mentioned, safety starts from home and it goes to the workplace is very true. And at the same time, very well outset has been made by Dr. Santosh when he is talking about the entire spectrum of the occupational health safety requirement, occupational health center requirement in any plant and in any industry. I have based my talk slightly in a different way. It is not going to be a sort of lecture, but it is more like living the experience and trying to share with you the kind of horrendous experience we have when I was working with the Bharat Petroleum Corporation, or other way around, even post my retirement. So please give me opportunity to share my screen.
Yes, sir, you can start sharing.
Sure. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir, perfect.
Great. So first of all, I must thank the organizer for having a right kind of a tribute to the National Safety Day, and nothing better can be there. And I must also compliment all those who are attending, because they also feel that safety is important and safety is a everyday requirement rather than being celebrated once in a year. So generally, I will take one example where I was privy to that. There was a massive fire at Jawahar Dweep, which is called Butcher Island, close to Bombay, where HSD tanks were under fire. And this particular Jawahar Island is catering to the incoming crude oil tankers, both for HPCL refinery as well as for Mumbai refinery. And there are on the Butcher Island, there are a number of HSD tanks and other tanks are there. And situation was pronounced to be critical after high-speed diesel tank caught fire at oil terminal at 4:35 p.m. on 7th of October 2017. And when it happened, we could see, even while staying at Navi Mumbai, I could see the kind of smoke which was coming from there. And we can imagine what kind of trauma it might have created, what kind of situation it might have created, especially to Mumbai Port Trust authorities who are managing this Jawahar Island or Jawahar Dweep. It's a small island. It caters to offloading of the crude oil as well as the other petroleum products. The fire engulfed Butcher Island, which serves as a oil terminal around 8.3 kilometers as crow flies from the gateway of India into the Arabian Sea on Friday evening. And on that particular day, there was heavy rain and also there was a thunderstorm. And there are many theories which are being propounded, what could be a reason, but that's a subsequent afterthought. According to the fire brigade, the blaze was noticed around 5 p.m. on the island and was initially battled by the team of safety officers who are stationed on the island. Now you can imagine, island has got limited resources, limited number of people, but at the same time, they had to fight it. And when they found it is becoming slightly desperate, they immediately summoned for speedboats to help battle the conflagration, and around an hour's journey which takes. So you can imagine there's a time lag, and during this time lag, the fire had propagated to many other tanks besides the tank where it really started the fire. Simultaneously, presently they took a decision not to take help from the Mumbai Fire Brigade and Indian Coast Guard or Indian Navy as of that particular day. But when the fire was, you can see the scenario of fire, lot of fire water is being put to quench the fire or to contain the fire, but it was of no avail. And again, on 8th of October, they decided that let us have some kind of a reference. And on Sunday morning, they tried to get more people and resources from outside. And that's how the fire was contained. And at this point of time, it was decided that 30,000 kiloliters of HSD tank, let it burn to ashes, but let us protect the rest of the facilities which are around. And this is what happens when any kind of a fire situation in a petroleum industry happens. So our first is to save the rest, and the best is to, whatever is unsavable, let it burn in a safe manner. So the precaution was also taken if we can empty out the neighboring tanks, and those precautions were also taken. But it was a scene which you can see the firefighters are trying their level best. They are at the scene of the fire, and it is really a situation which sometimes looks very, very difficult to manage. But people, those who are in the forefront, they have to manage it. On 8th, the news also continued that despite valiant efforts of firemen, the blaze at a fuel tank farm at the Bombay Port Trust located on the Jawahar Dweep continued to rage till the reports last came on the Saturday night. So Sunday also it appears in the same way. And one of the BPCL spokesperson at that point of time mentioned that lightning strike during Friday's thunder showers was apparent cause behind the fire, but detailed inquiry will be underway. So this is what happens, and you can see the kind of billowing smoke which is coming, the hot radiant heat which is coming to the people who are fighting fire is unimaginable. So I will not read the whole slide, but I will simply tell you that the fire brigade team had reached around 10 feet near to the blazed tank. Because of the heat, the foam was not settling down, and this was causing re-ignition. Our challenge was to keep the other tanks near affected area safe. So what I'm trying to say, that behavior of the fire in an oil industry, sometimes it is so unpredictable. You, despite of being close to fighting fire, you find it is running place to place. It is moving helter-skelter, and it is always a challenge. Another scene which is there, Of course, the other tanks were being kept cooled so that they don't catch fire because of the radiant heat. And the critical issues at that point of time was that oil terminal jetty operations were stopped, crude carrying ship berthing was suspended, import and delivery of crude oil to HPCL and BPCL refinery got suspended. And you can imagine, if the crude is not readily available, probably both the refineries have to shut down. And refinery operations likely to stop due to non-availability of crude. At this point of time, Mumbai Port Trust wanted to engage some party who can confirm that the entire system, though HSD tank fire has been quenched to some extent, but the rest of the system and the plant is adequate enough to restart the terminal. And that's how I got into the picture through the Indian Register of Shipping. I got into the picture, and I was already retired, and I was invited for that particular checkout. And what concern at that point of time was there for both Mumbai Port Trust, as well as the operators, as well as BPCL, as well as the others who were involved in the activity, that no possibility of fire re-erupting or erupting again. Diesel tank which caught fire and other tanks are totally isolated because they want to take the crude oil terminal onto the island. No reverse flow shall take place. That means you have to make sure that all pipelines are isolated and there's no possibility of backup, no possibility of reversing the flow, which reaches to the hot area and may cause the fire to again erupt. Most importantly, the entire oil terminals line out made after fire is proper. This is another check which was to be done, and not give rise to difficulties in receipt and delivery of the crude oil. Now, you can imagine all the plants, generally the stormwater channel, the oily water channel, the vents and drains, they are commonly connected. And to cause a reverse flow and fire cannot be ruled out. So the kind of assessment which was to be done, it was quite intricate, quite concerned, and quite judiciously to be assessed, so that there is no mistake happens and it does not cause a major problem to the oil tanker itself. Oil sumps, oily drains, etc., shall not get into the HSD tank farm area, and vents are proper and do not have any back connections. And it called for tremendous amount of study. Almost 2 days of study and working was involved, and after that only it was possible to start the oil terminal to receive the berthing of the oil tankers. Another accident where I was privy to that time I was working, and it was way back in 1988. One of the naphtha tanks at BPCL refinery caught fire, and 22 people got killed, and fire was extinguished only after burning for 72 hours. During this course of time, we were actively involved in fighting the fire, and fortunately, unfortunately, at that point of time, I had a heavy driving license, and I used to sometimes ply the fire tenders in the refinery. Though I am an engineer, but being a Sikh, वो ट्रक वाला है तो ट्रक का लाइसेंस तो होना चाहिए. That's how I got it. But on a lighter sense, but notwithstanding that, when this fire took place, it was also seeing the fire from very close quarters. Almost 72 hours we were engaged in the refinery, A, to put off the fire, B, to make sure that nothing again happens, and there was a continuous problems of different kind. What were the problems? 22 people have died, and equal amount of people are under distress who were found to be in problem, in the sense that they were injured, they were hospitalized, and they were moving to the different places. And that was one of the first kind of those fires way back in 88. Systems were not so robust. Communication was not so easy in those days. And outside refinery, there was almost about 600 to 700 people looking forward for the well-being of their near and dear ones. I could not call back to my wife, and my wife tried to call back to the refinery. Somehow or the other, after 24 hours only, I could tell her that I am all right, though I could not come back to home almost for 72 hours. So what I'm trying to say, that these kind of incidences are not really required to happen. And these kind of incidences put everybody into a different kind of a mat. So we need to look at this aspect from the perspective to answer basic questions. This is what I'm trying to talk about. Why we need to do something which is called fire prevention and safety prevention in oil and gas sector. And I have well illustrated why we need to do it. Second question is, what do we do to make it happen? What do we do to make sure that fire prevention happens and people work in a safe manner? When do we do it? Should we do it when we are into it? Should we do it beforehand? Should we do it after? And so on and so on. And the last question is, how do we do it? So if we are able to give answer to these four questions, definitely we will be able to set right the kind of requirements which are there for any industry. And when I'm talking of not only oil and gas sector, when I'm talking of these four questions, it is relevant to any industry, whether it is MSMEs, whether it is SMEs, whether it is large industry. So we have to understand a particular type of hazard, and based on those hazards which are there, whether it is inherent hazard or whether it is safety hazard or whether it is occupational hazards, we need to answer these four questions. And these four questions will give us further more insight to create a reference and to create a sort of gap analysis and arrest those possible loopholes which can ensure no incidents, no accident, and safe working. So we need to know more about various fire prevention measures warranted in oil and gas sector. Now, my first question, why we need to do it? Obviously, if there is an incident, if there is an accident, the cost of loss is apparent as well as total or colossal. We always say that what you see as an accident, the apparent expenditure is very, very low, but it is an iceberg. It shows only about 10%, whereas the real accident cost could be 90%, which is hidden or which is indirect. Therefore, prevention is better than facing it. So prevention is better than cure is not the answer. Prevention is better than facing it. Instead of reaching to this situation, how can we prevent it? What are the means for us to have a prevention, or what Dr. Datar had mentioned with respect to taking care well ahead of time, with respect to taking care of the, he used the word hierarchy. That means he's talking of control measures. So what control measures we can have with respect to hazard, its identification, its assessment, likely damage which can happen, and what kind of control measures we have. That is what the prevention will be there. Recovery costs are very high, we know very well. If any kind of accident happens, obviously the 3 days loss of oil tankers not berthing onto the Jawhar Idweep has cost a lot to both the refineries, and it has cost a lot to MP, I mean to say Mumbai Port Trust as well. At the same time, rebuild and reconstruct those damaged HSD tanks is a huge cost, crores of rupees. Almost for 5 months, the entire rest of the tank operations or HSD tank operation or product tank operations were suspended. At times, these costs are very, very prohibitive. For example, if I take the example of Jaipur incidents, the terminal is closed. And at that point of time, the cost was so prohibitive in the sense that the entire fuel oil which burnt at Jaipur incidents is close to the 460 odd crores. The kind of damage, I mean, you can imagine what kind of colossal loss it is. Then it adds to pollution, obviously, any kind of fire incidents. And of course, there are societal angles. Societal angles are related to pollution. So societal angles are related to the anxiety of the people who are in the nearby demography and those who are based in close by to the plants and areas. And of course, it impacts to the brand image. And it is not one why we need to tackle it. There are multiple reasons why we need to tackle it. Now, what to be done? Compliance to fire and safety rules and regulations, both internal and statutory. This should be part and parcel of our genes. Those who are working in oil and gas sector, compliance to fire and safety rules, not only fire and safety rules, compliance to other regulations which are there, both which come from within the company, within the system, at the same time, which are statutory obligations for us. And education and training across all levels about reasons of happening. I have used this word particularly, reasons of happening. That means they should not only be looking at just it has happened, how do we tackle it? They should look at where from it starts, what is the trigger, and from the trigger we have to arrest it and we have to take care of the control measures accordingly. So this education is very specific with respect to reasons of happening, and that's how we come to the control measures. Caution to all those coming as visitors. We go to many plants and we find that at the gate there is a lot of gate control and we get frustrated. We get, foxed. What is this? I'm not being allowed to go inside. But unless we take good care of visitors, it may be coming in the form of contract workers, supervisors, or any visitor. It's the responsibility of the organization to take care of visitors that nothing untoward happens to the visitors. Neighborhood localities to also be vigilant to identify and notify. Here I'll give you one example. On a particular day, we saw that one kind of a, this fire balloon is moving over the refinery, very small fire balloon. And people were literally running from the gate and trying to see where it's going to fall, whether it will be within the refinery or whether it will be crossing. And luckily it happened to fall in one of the artery roads, which was not part of the hazardous area. And after 2 days of review, 2 days of investigation and review, both by police and local authorities, it could be identified that some 9th or 10th standard students, they learnt in the science class that yes, a fire balloon can be made. So they had put one a small bottle, put some kerosene, put a wig, and on top of that, a simple cloth like a hanky was tied, and they made a fire balloon. And luckily or unluckily, it so happened it started flying. And they did not know what are the hazard it will happen. And it happened in a Mahul village. And finally, we had to take care that in future, we had to guide those people. So neighborhood localities are also to be taught what can happen and what is their concern and what damage it can do to them if they are not vigilant. So trying to rope them in, trying to have their confidence, trying to share with them is equally important for us, which many industries do neglect. Then can they be helpful to us? They can also be a resource for us. then watch and ward essentially is required. So when do we do certain things, right? While deciding the location of the plants, we must take care of it. The distance, the type of meteorological data which is there, the type of, and it should not happen like Bhopal, that today we say that Bhopal plant design was inaccurate because it was the, the entire system was downwind, entire locality was downwind, whereas it should have been upwind. So these are the learnings which are there. Then right from design stage, build in fire prevention and safety features. So instead of learning post facto, better we take care of it at the design stage, at the engineering stage, and all prevention measures and safety features are duly incorporated. Today, it's a good practice. Many of the organizations, when any new projects are coming or even revamp is being done, they do take care of the HAZOP studies. They also involve the safety professionals to give their insight, and to maybe it helps in trying to think wider, trying to think under worse circumstances, trying to think what could be maximum credible assessment, and based on that maximum credible assessment, the prevention measures can be duly incorporated at the design stage. Strict check and quality assurance during construction, during startup, and during the commissioning. And during operational maintenance, strict adherence to the SOPs, safe operating procedures, or I use standard operating procedures or safe operating procedures, the protocols which are set, as well as the procedures which are there to be followed by all in the line. There is no room for chances as far as the oil and gas sector is concerned. At the same time, we have to look at that our so-called psyche of chalta hai should not be brought into the being, irrespective of whatever job is being done, irrespective of whosoever is doing the job, irrespective of whatever level of the individual is. So there is nothing like chalta hai. Everything has to be kept duly incorporated, duly respected, and duly done with. Now, how do we do it? Regular site visits by plant operators and staff. Unfortunately, with more DCS system, with more automation, the visit to plants has come much reduced. And people think, "Arey, sab to control room mein milta hai. Why shall we go to the plant?" But we must have a practice of the visit to the plants so that man-machine interface continues to be there. Regular inspection of facilities, safety audits, both internal and external. Not only safety audits, but also we must regard the kind of observations which are there by safety audits, which are meant for scope for improvement, not to be taken otherwise, not to be taken as imposition, but to be taken as a scope for improvement. Then empowerment to the field staff, if they see anything untoward, they should be able to stop the work, or they should be able to immediately call the higher ups and keep them notified. Skill and competency development, to have such an eye. Everyone, those who are working in the plant, they should have that kind of a competency to have an eye towards fire prevention, to have an eye towards seeing something wrong, to have an eye towards seeing some hazardous situation, some unwarranted new happening, and that they should be able to notify. Self-responsive culture building for fire prevention and safety. It is not me, it is everybody who has to be responsible. So whether I am a self-responsive, or should I take it, अरे ये तो maintenance का काम है, मुझे इसमें क्या करना है, अरे ये तो operations का काम है, मुझे इसमें क्या करना है. I am talking of, if it is a fire prevention, if it is safety, it's a culture building, it's a self-responsive culture building to be happening, to be there with everyone, rather than thinking from top down, but it should be top down and bottom up, both ways it should be there. Tackle fire at the nib in its incipient stage instead of allowing it to flare. Very, very important. I have said in a simple state word, but it really means a lot. That means all those who are first responders, they should be well taught over. They should be asked to do practices. They should have a real firefighting practice with a live fire extinguishers. Today, companies feel if I empty one fire extinguisher, it costs me 1,700 rupees to fill it up. Why should I do it? It's foolish. If the first responder can immediately stop the fire, it will stop. It will help you not to have a major incident, not to have a major accident, not to have the billowing fire, which ultimately becomes uncontrollable, or it becomes a major resource to be engaged. So this is what I thought. I'll share it with you. As far as oil and gas sector is concerned, there are many aspects which are required, but in a nutshell, I have tried to cover it in this 10 minutes time. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to talk about my industry, which is very precarious. At the same time, I loved working in this industry throughout my career. Thank you very much.
Don't let your dreams go up in smoke. Practice fire safety. Thank you so much, sir. Whether on land or in air, safety should be practiced everywhere. So now I call upon our third speaker, Mr. Suresh Kodia. He shall be talking on the aviation safety. He is aviation safety consultant, ex-Air Indian additional general manager, qualified as BE Mechanical, experience in safety management system, pilots and cabin crew trainer, SMS, SCP, which is safety emergency procedures, dangerous goods, aircraft system and performance, aircraft incident and accident investigator. We welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sushma. Respected organizers, speakers, and enthusiastic participants, good morning to all of you. I thanks to ICS, and it is my pleasure to invite me here as a speaker. This is the first time I am a speaker in ICS forum. As already my introduction has been given, I had been with national carrier Air India for 38 years. After completing my graduation, I joined immediately Air India, and I was with Air India for 38 years and worked in different areas. As already mentioned, I was a trainer, I worked as an auditor, I worked as the accident incident investigator and part of the emergency response teams. Now, as we all talk about the safety, that what is safety? Now, I would say that, can you please bring to my slide, please, Sushma? You have a slide or I will share myself? Okay.
Yes, sir, you can start, sir.
Okay, let me scroll. Where do I scroll? Next slide.
So you can just click on the enter button
Oh,
or
it's
the
not
arrow key.
It's not working.
No
Let
problem,
me-
sir. I'll share from my side.
Then you can enter it. Go there.
It's working. Let me see any down.
Slide show कीजिए. Yeah, press this one.
This one?
Slide show. Yeah. Just press this.
Yeah.
Click
I
it, click
think
it. Yeah. Now see.
now it's working. Yeah. Thank you very much. So now we were talking about the safety. Now I will have more focus on the aviation safety since I've been in this industry. And now safety, we have seen that is part of the every industry, and everybody doesn't want any incident or accident in their industry. Similarly, in aviation also, we have this motto that there should be no incident or accident. But however you may control, zero incident accidents is not possible in any industry. That is what is my experience and says. But yes, we should have a way to minimize or reduce the incident accident rates. And as you know that whenever accident or incident happens, generally we have a approach of the reactive type. Whenever an incident accident happens, we do the investigation after the accident has happened, and then we work on three directions: how it happened, who has done it, and why it happened. And in the end, so far we've seen the culture is that we fix the person who has done it, and we close the case. Now what happens? The root cause still remains there, the hazard, which is not being addressed. So the culture is slowly changing, and people realized that is not the way to address the safety issues. If you don't want or reduce the incident accidents, you have to find why it happened. So who did is not important. Why it happened is very important. So we have to now focus on why, not the who. So now the things is changing slowly, and for that reason, it has been found that there is a lack of corporate safety policy. Now the corporate safety policy is very important, which needs to be declared by every company, which states that it is say just culture. Means now what happens if anybody a mistake or any incident accident happens, or there's a because of any error or decision, the good punished. And if it is a violation which is done intentionally, of course that is not pardonable. You have to punish that person. Now that is the main part of the safety policy, which has to be there by every corporate. And then second thing is that he should give commitment that whoever does any mistake, who should report and inform the management. Then only you will come to know where was the flaw and the root cause. Otherwise, people normally have a fear. If I report, which is because of somebody else's mistake, or sometimes because of my own mistake, then I will be punished or I'll be fired from the job. So because of this reason, people don't disclose the facts. And when there is no facts, you cannot fix the problem. So that is why a just culture should be there in the company, and the commitment should be given the top boss of the company. And the same time, just by giving the commitment doesn't work, they have to give the resources, and there has to be a complete procedure how to monitor it, review it, and then improvise it. So for that, we will have a culture now in the industry that it will be not reactive, it will be proactive, and it will be predictive. So this is the culture which has been followed now. Even every industry, even aviation also, we follow that. The reactive is already existing, everybody knows. The proactive is the data collection, like the employees' reports, or we have a different source of the finding out the this one shortfalls. like we have the audits, we have flight data monitoring system and volunteering reportings. There are so many ways we can collect the data, and then we find the hazard and we fix the hazard at a root cause, which is called latent conditions. We fix it so that it doesn't become an incident or accident. Then the third thing is the proactive also. Now, proactive is a new thing which you have to predict about the weather conditions and what is going to be. For example, today is a bad weather and tomorrow expected to be storm coming. Then I should take proactive action to ensure that if there are everywhere chokes kept under the aircraft or any kind of loose equipments are not being kept on the parking bay, for example. So these are the proactive methods which are used to ensure that there is no incident accident. Now, after understanding that there is a possibility of incident accident all the time, we cannot say no. So there is a new method has been introduced by the ICAO, the International Civil Aviation Organization, which was studied and found that there is no systematic way to approach the safety and to identify the hazards and how to take correct action to fix the problem. Now, as you know that everybody knows that safety is not a free. It costs the
Hello?
money.
Hello.
Yeah.
So sorry
Yeah.
to interrupt you, sir. We can see
Yeah.
only the first slide.
Yeah, I know. Slide is still not started.
Okay.
Shishma.
Yeah.
I will come to slide. I'm just giving a brief background, please.
Okay.
Please?
Thank
I'll
you.
hope you bear with me.
No
All right.
problem.
So now this one, as I told you, that ICAO Annexure 19, which has been on the aviation industry, and there must be many other industry also have a similar kind of, I'm not much aware, but basic principle is same. Now it says that there should be a systematic approach to handle the safety issues. So they came out with a safety management system in the aviation industry, which was in 2009. They introduced, and they gave the time to implement 10 years to the aviation industry, that you start implementing slowly, because overnight you cannot change the system and the things. So it was introduced in 9, and I was one of the lead person to be we've been trained by the ICAO on the SMS safety management system and the state safety management system, which was by DGC, another regulatory in the aviation industry. So Director of Civil Aviation was one of the candidates, and the concerned airlines were invited by the ICAO to understand the SMS system. And they said, you start working on this and it will give you a systematic way to approach and calculate the risk factor, because every safety has a hazard and it has a potential to harm the man and material. Now, as you know that every action has got hazard inbuilt. So that way we cannot perform any action. For example, let us take a housewife in the kitchen. Now, do you think it's safe place for a new person? New person will be feared to go to use the knife to cut the vegetables, to work on the gas stoves. And earlier people have to have wooden chullas. So all these things are hazardous. So far you are not understand the SOP. Till that it is a hazard. Once you understand the SOP, it doesn't become a hazard, and your potential to handle the hazard increases. So safety management system is the tool which was introduced by ICAO, and we are following as on today in the aviation industry to find the risk factor that for any hazard which has been reported. Because in aviation industry, when we started this procedure, we were getting 10,000s of reports from the employees because they built the confidence in the management that they will not take any action against you if they see any deviation in the SOP in their own work area or any other work area. They used to report, but the intention was not to complain about anybody. It was just to improve the safety standards. So safety management system then was introduced, and then we followed that. Now I will come to the slide, please. These are some of the slides which are giving the safety demonstration on board, which everybody knows. When you fly, there is a safety demo, which is not only must to meet the requirement, it is essential for the maintain the safety on board and till you land to the safe destination. Now, in simple word, I would say a safety management is a systematic approach to manage safety, including necessary organization structure, accountability, policies, and procedures. That is what we discussed and I said in the beginning. Now, SMS training, which we have started, the SMS system in the industry is a real-time reporting system which helps organization to maintain integrity of the safe operation by identifying the unacceptable hazard and the occurrences. Now, as I said that safety and quality, these are the two part of every industry, and generally it has been found they contradict, but it is not that way. I would say they are the complement to each other. Now, what happens? The object of the safety is to keep the situation and conditions safe. I don't bother about the cost involved. Now, the quality will say, I need the quality at a minimum cost. So if they don't work together, like right hand what is doing, left hand what is doing, then there is a difficult. The company is in dilemma. What happens? Because as I said, the safety doesn't come free. It is a cost involved at every stage to implement. Similarly, the quality will not, he want the business to profit. They don't care whatever is the safety. At any cost, I want the profit in the company. And they are also correct at their own place. And the safety manager is also correct at his own place. Now, what happens that, now how do we reduce the gap and compromise with each other? So there is the, what we call it SMS and find the hazard, how to calculate the risk factor. Because as I said, every human has a potential to and tolerances limit to have the take the risk in the life. Because as I said, after getting proper training and following the SOP, the thing becomes, it's not a risk, it's just a simple way. Similarly, it's like, investment in the share market. People may find maybe, yes, it is a gamble, but when you understand the whole methodologies and get some experience, then you may find you may be making money. It's not that unsafe. Similarly, the people who are very insecure, they feel in the life, they may open an insurance policy, a very big amount. Now, suppose your earning is 50,000 rupees per month, and because of insecurity of the future, I cannot say that I'll open the policy to pay premium of per month 30,000 rupees, where my saving is only 10,000. So it is a ridiculous, I would say, a decision and wrong decision. So I would evaluate my requirement based on my family conditions, my situations, whether my wife is working, not working, my children are bright in student, why should I keep any money? They are scholars. So all these factors make me to understand and make to come to conclusion that I can take the risk and have a policy only of 10,000 rupees. So that is the same way in the work culture. We have to see how much is acceptable level of risk which I can take in the task, and then only the otherwise over safety is also not good. As I said, the cost is involved in the end. Why the industry is coming up to make some profit is not only the social work which they are doing. Same time, it develops the country, it creates a job. But if the company should keep on running, if the company goes loss in every time because of looking at the safety, then one day it become a bankrupt. I would not call the name of the airline. You must have seen there are many airlines closed down because they were looking very hi-fi and they never cared about the safety on board, and they never cared about the money. They paid a high salary to the staff, and then and they were too much conscious about the quality, and then in the end the airline closed down. Similarly, there was case on board one of the flight. People wanted to attract more customers to make the more flight interesting. They start playing Holi on board. Now when this play Holi on the board, this was objected by the DGCA, and the airline was used a warning letter because they said the main call, the cabin crew on board is not only for the service they provide to entertain the passengers, it is for the safety also. So how much time and energy and you have to devote in the service, and without compromising safety on board. So that is what is called the balance of the safety and the quality. So we go to the next slide. Now corporate policy, as I said, including a hazard reporting system, it should be to eliminate, mitigate the safety risk of the consequence of the hazard resulting from operation activities to a point which is low as reasonably practicable. Ensure that no action is taken against any employee who discloses the safety. This is the very important of the corporate policy. Now, what are the components of the SMS? Safety policy, safety risk management, safety assurance, safety promotion. So this is very important that management is committed, accountability and responsibility is given. There is an appointment of the key personals, coordination of ERP is required, and there is a proper documentation. Then the management of the risk. Hazard is identified. You find the risk factor, do the risk assessment, and find the mitigation, and just don't leave it. It has to be reviewed periodically till you reduce the risk factor. And what is the risk factor? I'll come back in the next slide. And there should be a safety assurance plan and program in place in the company. How to safety performance monitoring and measurement. Then the change of management change is very important. This is also very important in the organization. Whenever there is some changes, you have to carry out the risk assessment and find out if there is any hazard which has to be fixed whenever there is any change management. There may be change in the use of the equipment, like sometimes you use the hydrant for the refilling the aircraft. There are sometimes the trucks are there. So whole SOP and procedure is different. So when there is a change in the system, you have to do the risk assessment and fix the hazard if there is any possibility. There has a continuous improvement of the procedure should be in place. Then safety promotion is very important in the organization, because many people, I mean, not people, I'll say that many companies cut the corners and the cost on all those things. They think that this is a useless money to spend. It is pinching my balance sheet or the profit. Now, it's not that way. One accident or incident may cost the company loss so much of not only of the image, they lose so much business that it can become a bankrupt. So it is like money we spend on the soldiers at the border in the defense. Is it looks they are enjoying, but it's not that way. They do the rehearsal practice and they are there to protect us. And one fine day, there's a war, they are the people who come forward. Similarly, promotion for that training and education is required. Then there is a safety communication should be there to employ between the employees. There should be news bulletins. Now, as I said, elimination of risk is unachievable. Failures will still occur in spite of most accomplished preventive efforts. Controlled risk and errors is acceptable in an inherently safe system. Now, this is the ICO doc, which was issued in reference to the acceptable level of risk, SMS. Now, as I said that an accident never caused because of one reason. When you do the investigation, you'll see there are lapses at many levels. Now, if you see, there could be from an organization, there could be flaws in the management policies, organization process, allocation of resource, communication, supervision. Then there could be shortfalls in the working conditions. And the last but not least, the accidents maybe because of the errors or maybe violations. Now the error and violation, there's a thin line that differences that errors are pardonable, as I said, but violations are not acceptable. You are doing intentionally something wrong to get the things fast, or you will be doing the things under pressure. So all differences get crossed when there is then the accident occurs. Now, this is one of the James reasons, Swiss cheese model, which says that same thing, that whenever there is a mistake in to complete a task, there are a lot of departments and areas which work together, coordinate. Like to dispatch a flight from point A to point B, there are many departments which work, and there has to be proper coordination for them to have a safe operation from point A to point B. Now, the Swiss cheese model by James Reason says that there are too many defense things in every area. A person does the mistake, it gets corrected automatically in the second stage without realizing that. But a fine bad day, if there is a mistake in every area, then is going to cause an accident. So this is the thing that whenever there is a latent failure, then only the accident happens. And this is the area which we have to identify the hazard, the latent conditions, and we have to fix the problem there itself before it becomes an iceberg. Now, this is the iceberg model. Now, this is the iceberg model, which says that any hazard which is found in the latent condition, it should be fixed there itself. Suppose there are 4,000 hazard reports. Out of that, if you don't address them all, some may become a small incident, and some may become, if you don't address still all, you take it lightly, then becomes serious incidents. And there are only few which becomes accidents in the form of, which is shown an iceberg. So here the model says that number of occurrences, if they are reported in a company, for example, 4,000, then all 4,000 should be addressed and mitigated so that no accident happens. If you leave small things open, it may become big, 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 and one day it becomes an iceberg. वो बोलते हैं ना कि कई बार अगर जख्म को नहीं भरा जाएगा वो नासूर हो जाता है, and then we have to cut the part of the body. It's like that become a cancer. Similarly, any hazard identified, the company should not take it lightly. There should be a system to address that, mitigate that, and then you have to keep on reviewing the mitigation which has been taken Now, this is the, now, as you know that if you see the aviation accident incident record of last 50 years, आज से 40 साल पहले जो भी एक्सीडेंट होते थे, तो everybody will say, अरे एयरक्राफ्ट की खराबी होगी कुछ. Now, do you hear this kind of comments now? After 20 years, that means 20 years back, there is so much work and research was done on the aircraft systems. The aircraft machine became so sophisticated, it became difficult for a human being to get trained on that, to get used to it. Like computer system came 20, 30 years back, people were not aware about what is how to use computers. But when you become familiar, then the mistakes become zero or less. Similarly, when the more accidents used to happen, the research came into place and they found the machine make more computerized, sophisticated. And then after that, there were accidents because of the human error. Now afterwards, the people started calling accident hua hoga, arey zarur pilot ki galti hui hogi. Now this was the people always used to say that. Now what happens? Now, as on today, the man with the computer world is so much now understood this is how to use the machine. So there are very few errors which are because of the pilot's error or because of human error. And in between, there were more human errors, not because of the pilot's mistake. It was because of the lack of coordination from the ground crew also. Because in the aviation, we don't have only the flying crew, we have ground crew also, maintenance engineers. And then there is a commercial department traffic who prepares the load and sheet. So there is a teamwork. So they found there is something lacking there. So they came with CRM, crew resource management was there. Then first was the cabin resource management, the definition changed to crew resource management. That means there should be a coordination between the ground crew and the flying crew also. So the number of incident accidents reduced a lot. But as on today, if you see, because of the organization, there are a lot of accidents happening. What does mean by organization means? The corporates, the big bosses sitting in the AC room, in the boardroom, and they take the decisions without considering taking input from the ground personnel, who are the main users. They take one-sided decisions, bas maine bola ye hona chahiye. I don't care how. So what happens? The organization accidents are happening is the current challenge in today's world. So this is the factor which is showing that workforce stability, qualification, experience, moral credibility in ergonomics. These are the factors which has to be considered before you come out with any policies or by the management. That is also very important to minimize the incident accidents. So this is the one of the reason which has to be challenging reason in the current aviation industry. Now this is the what we said earlier, that management concern is that how to balance the protection production, because he has to get the profit of the company, to run the company, to keep the shareholder also happy, and same time the company should grow. Now this is what is the management level where it is today. One side is protection, one side is production. Now if you see, if he pays more importance to the production, he doesn't care about the protection and safety, then one day catastrophic will happen and the whole name of the company spoils and company may close down. If he is on the other extreme, he puts a lot of money in the protection. He says, I want to be safe, 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 safe. I don't worry about the production. I don't worry. So what will happen? The company may become a bankrupt and may close down. And eventually they have to go and settle then in the UK. Okay, now second is this is the what do you say, the X and Y axis of the James reason, that you have to be in the middle zone to maximize the resistance space, which is called the production and protection should be the balanced. And you have to always work in that way, then only you can survive in the industry. And these are the 4 components of the safety which already have been covered. I will not go into detail because SMS itself is a very big course which takes a long time to explain. Safety policy is there. Then, as I said, safety risk management, then safety assurance plan, then safety promotions, which includes training, etc. Because it's many companies think training is a waste of money. They just induct the new refreshers after giving a short crash course, go on the job, which is not correct. They have to ensure that whatever is the company requirement and work requirement, you must not cut short in the training programs. Then only the confidence of the person comes, and there is a less mistakes and the less errors, and people don't do, and there should be no pressure by the management to give the more productivity. That is very big thing. It doesn't give the individual stress. It gives the bad decisions, causes more errors and the violations. So this is the strategy being adopted: reactive method, proactive method, and predictive method. So we must focus only on the proactive and predictive. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that how to manage the safety risk management. There are 2 components which are involved to assess the risk assessment. The assessment expressed in terms of predicted probability and severity of the consequences of hazard, taking in reference of the worst foreseeable situation. So every risk we have to find out what is the probability and severity. This is the way the SMS is being developed, and they help us to calculate the risk factor. Risk probability, likelihood that is unsafe event condition might occur. You have to ask individual the question, and based on experience, is there a history of the occurrences like being happened? Occurrence is isolated event, one time only happened, then why should I spend money on it? What other equipment, similar type component might have similar defects? What number of operating or maintenance personnel must follow procedure in question? How frequently is equipment procedure used? So this is the way they have given the values for each qualitative definitions. If it is happening frequently, it is said that you give them the 5 number, occasionally 4, remote 3, improbable 2, and extremely improbable 1. And on that basis, this is the finder. Now severity. Now severity, it will say how much it has a potential to cause the damage, which could be lost to the property, finance, liability, people, environment, image, or public confidence. So this is very important, which has to take the decision to find the value for the risk severity. Now severity also has been given 5 values, maximum 5, minimum 1. If it is a catastrophic, suppose anything which is have an effect of catastrophic, we must address immediately. It is a very high risk factor. And if it is a hazardous, whether it gives a serious injury, then we say it is 4. If it is a major, significant, serious incident, injury to the person, we give 3. If it is a minor, just causing nuisance, it is a accidents of the operating limits, then we say 2. And with the negligible, we say 1. So when we multiply risk factor, risk factor is nothing but the severity multiplied by probability. So when you say my risk factor is, like example, it is 25, 20, 16, 15, the which is coming in the red zone, then the company takes the decision. Management says, when you find risk factor lying in between this range, between 15 to 25, you report to me, and then probably I may not carry out that operation, or I will find the way how to take the higher risk. So top management will take decision on this. And when you fall in the yellow zone, then you need some mitigations to be taken. If you find hazard, which is a risk factor of falling between 12 to, I will not say 12 to, but which is falling in the yellow zone, then you have to do some mitigations, which has to be reviewed, and there is a continuous monitoring of that, and to ensure that doesn't go in the red zone. If your risk factor is falling in green zone, then you may not need any action to be taken. You can carry out the operation with that kind of risk. So this is the way the risk factor is calculated. And this is the way in the aviation industry we follow is intolerable region, tolerable region, and acceptable region. And as I said, hazard identification system is there, to which we get different sources. Assessment has been done. Then we do the control and do the mitigations, and accepting the risk with the mitigation, then monitoring, and then carry out the operation. This is all about my PPT. And as I said that safety is a must in the company, which should not be ignored. And I thank you very much for calling me here. I hope I've taken a little more time. Excuse me for that.
No problem, sir. Very well explained about the SMS components. Safety is everyone's responsibility. Thank you so much, sir. Nuclear energy in terms of an overall safety record is better than other energy. So now I call upon Mr. Gajendra Jajpuria, our fourth speaker, who shall be talking on nuclear safety. He is a former Associate Director of Nuclear Power Council of India, NPCIL, BE in Electrical Engineering, Commissioning of Electrical Systems, Maintenance Management in Power Station, Work Contracts, Project Management in MPPS. The awards presented papers on outage management in NPPS at COG, Toronto, and IAEA, Vienna. Successful modernization of aged electrical systems during EMCCR outage of KAPS-1. Standardization of contract documentation for NPCI. We welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much, Sushma ji, for
Thank
my
you, sir.
introduction. Let me start sharing first my presentation. Hope it is visible.
No, sir.
It's not
Just
visible.
click on share screen.
Is it visible now?
No, sir. So do you want me to share from my side?
There are certain addition what I have submitted to you. Let me try once again.
Okay.
Let me try once again. Okay, you can share it because I'm finding difficulty.
Now, Gajendra ji, why don't you try doing, first you open the presentation in your desktop, open कीजिए
Okay.
उसको, open करके minimize कर लीजिए,
Just a
and
minute.
then you press share screen.
Just a minute.
First open it.
Okay. I am visible at least.
And now
Okay.
you minimize this window or presentation की.
I have minimized it.
Now you start share screen. Button,
Yeah,
green button दबाइए, share screen.
No, but first that screen for this thing should come, no? The Zoom screen should.
Share screen, green
No,
button.
Zoom screen should come first.
So you must
Yeah.
have minimized it.
I
Just
have.
opened it.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, now it should come. Yes. And now you can put on slideshow.
Yeah, I have put it on slideshow. I think now it is okay.
Uh,
It's available, visible.
No, sir, it is not on the slideshow, sir. Just
It's not
click
on
on
slideshow.
from beginning. On the above, click on from beginning.
top left from beginning. Yeah. Top left from beginning. High school.
Now is it visible?
I think ठीक है. This is okay. I mean, चलेगा ये.
Yes, sir, you
It's,
can continue.
it's visible, na?
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Okay. Good morning and sorry for delay from my side to everyone. First of all, I like to thank Dr. Kataria, Professor Sudesh Sharma, and entire ICS team to give me this opportunity to speak about nuclear safety. I like to say nuclear safety is a word, basically is a very big word. And it has been, it is being taught, then it has been talked, and it has been implemented all over the world in a great sense. So it's not a very small thing, small word, which is which can be explained in 15-minute duration. Because you can say it is just like a, if I want to speak, telling it is just like a सागर inside a गागर. सागर को हमें गागर में लेके आऊं, उतनी है न्यूक्लियर सेफ्टी के बारे में बात करना. So first of all, I would like to say, in India, Department of Atomic Energy is basically responsible for nuclear installation. Its design, construction, whether it is a research organization or various other departments or in corporations. So one of that corporation which is responsible for producing power is the Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited, NPCIL. As the slide says, it was formed in 1987 and with a vision to be globally proficient in nuclear power technology, contributing towards long-term energy security of India. This is the vision given at the time of formation, and with the same vision, now it is being, then it is having its mission. Mission is to develop nuclear power technology and to produce nuclear power as a safe environmentally benign, and economically viable source of electrical energy to meet the increasing electricity need of country. And it has got certain core values. You see in the core value mentioned here in this my slide, the safety is kept on the topmost. The safety is an overriding priorities in all activities. Here I was going through one of the speakers slide or his presentation. It has been told that compromising has to be a compromising thing should be there in the production and the safety. Whereas here it is not like that. In a nuclear industry or nuclear utility, safety and overriding priorities in all activities means there is a motto given in a Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited saying that safety first, production next. Coming to the next core values, ethics, excellence, care for the people, and protection of the environment. Now, as I was telling, nuclear safety is a very big word. So I will, in my presentation of the small duration, I will touch upon only crux of the nuclear safety and more detailing about that, how it is being implemented in our Nuclear Power Corporation of India Limited. So first I will talk about the nuclear installation safety. The achievement and maintenance of a high level of safety during the lifetime of nuclear facilities and the duration of activities requires a sound governmental, legal, and regulatory framework. This is the phrase which is being utilized for the nuclear installation safety.
So, sorry, sir, to interrupt. So you can click on the second slide because only the first slide is visible. Sir.
Second slide, I have already clicked. Nuclear installation safety is not visible to you?
No, sir.
Oh, new slide. Okay. Now share. Is it visible now?
Yes, sir, it is perfect now.
Okay. So I was talking about that nuclear installation safety. In India, AERB is the regulator, that is Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, ensures nuclear installation of India to meet the above statement, which is given in the slide, by establishing safety standards and providing for their application in all type of nuclear installations in India throughout the total life cycle. That is from design, construction, operation maintenance, and finally decommissioning stage. Coming to the next slide. I hope the next slide is visible now.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now it is working fine. So I will briefly speak what are the safety functions of a nuclear power plant. Control of reactivity. Reactivity control is very, very important. It should not go beyond the control to maintain the safety, nuclear safety in an operating power plant. Fail-safe design of a reactor safety. Fail-safe design means even in the failure of certain condition of the system, of the power supply, of any equipment, the reactor safety, it should go, a design should be of reactor safety should be like this. It should give a safe shutdown of the reactor. So briefly, I will say about the features given in this in an operating station. See, you are able to see the safety features of 540 megawatt. This is the reactor which is in operation in Tarapur Atomic Power Project Power Station 3 and 4. Here, briefly, I will say that there are shutdown systems also in the two shutdown system 1, shutdown system 2, core cooling system that is called emergency core cooling system. Then containment system. Every reactor is having double containment in the engineered safety features. So this is something very technical. So I will just simply touch upon and proceed further. Now coming to next safety function of a nuclear power plant is removal of heat from reactor core and from the spent fuel storage bay. always it has to be ensured, cooling has to be ensured whether reactor is under shutdown condition or it is in operation condition. Similarly, where the spent fuel is stored in a pool, there also cooling has to be ensured. Next point is confinement of radioactive material, shielding against the radiation. This is also very, very important point of safety function. Next bullet is control of operational discharge within prescribed limit. ARB has given a limit, so it should be within the prescribed limit, as well as to limit the accidental release in case of accident condition within the acceptable limit. That is also mentioned in the safety design manuals, safety manuals. And last, monitoring of the critical parameter of core and spent fuel storage bay. That is, it is, as I told, whether reactor is in operation or in shutdown condition, it's monitoring of these parameters, whether it is a temperature, radiation, or pressure, whatever parameters are defined, critical parameter, that has to be monitored thoroughly. My next slide is radiation protection. Another part of the nuclear safety is the radiation protection. The use of ionizing radiation in medicine, energy production, industry, and research brings enormous benefit to the people when it is used safely. As we know, all this field, whatever I have mentioned in this bullet, is having use of radiation technology or radiation of the radioactive isotopes. The potential radiation risks must be assessed and controlled. Again, here our regulator ARB develops safety standard to protect the health and minimize danger to the people's life and property associated with such use. We were talking about that, we were listening Mr. Baveja's presentation about that loss of property in the oil industry. So similar thing has to be taken care like any other industries. Here also, this is very important point to take care about that life and the life of the people as well as the property associated with uses of radiation protection. Just Hindi, in Hindi, there are certain slides I have picked up. Just I want to touch upon those things. How radiation. See, it is Hindi that Vikiran sarvyapi hai prakartik prasthbhumik, means sab jagah, everywhere radiation is available. And if you see in the nuclear installation, it is total annual radiation is much lesser than what we are getting from other sources. A simple example, banana eating, as it is very clearly indicating here. Just for the sake of explanation, I am telling all this thing. Similarly, for a radiation protection, there are defense in depth mechanism is adopted, or it is the philosophy is adopted while designing a reactor. So as it is here, nuclear pencils are there, pellets are there, over that protection is there, about that cladding is there, the second protection that should not, and then next is the reactor core where the coolant is there. Then next is that primary containment and secondary containment. It is the reactor building is built in two containment. So thick concrete containments are there. Then there are certain 1 kilometer distance. There is a boundary where nuclear reactor is situated, and beyond 1 kilometer to 5 kilometer sterilization zone. There only natural habitants or natural people growth is there that is permitted. Coming to the next slide, radioactive waste and spent fuel management. The operation and decommissioning of nuclear facilities and activities using radioisotope in science, industry, and medicine generate radioactive waste. Like any other process, they are also generating radioactive waste. Radioactive waste need to be managed in a way that keep people and environment safe over a long period of time. I'm only small part of the things I am telling, very brief things about that nuclear safety. One topic, just touching upon that points. Another thing is, even if some disaster take place, one has to be ready. Like any other industry, nuclear also, even though so many safeties are provided inbuilt in the design during construction stage or during operation maintenance stage, regulator try to impose upon that thing. All this thing is there, but still there is an emergency preparedness and response, effective national and global response arrangement and capabilities are essential to minimize the impact from nuclear and radiological incidents and emergencies. Our regulator develops safety standards, guidelines, and technical tool for nuclear installation of India to build the capacity for emergency response and to maintain the emergency system to efficiently implement its role in response to nuclear radiological incidents and emergencies, irrespective whether they arise from an accident, negligence, or deliberate act. Regular exercises are being conducted at the station, and that is during that exercise, whether it is an on-site exercise or off-site exercise, emergency exercise, the participation from headquarter, participation from regulator is there to see that everything is nuclear utility is geared for that, meet that emergency preparedness or not. My next slide is human and organization factor. See, it is also in length, it is talked by Godraji in his aviation safety also, how human factors play a very important role as well as organization factor play a very important role to achieve the safety. So technical operation and human factors have been well studied in nuclear sector also. Social and behavioral scientists have increasingly focused on impact of organization, including culture, leadership, management, and communication, finding that dynamic interactions of these factors can both jeopardize and promote safety and security. With this, now in detailing how it is being implemented in Nuclear Power Corporation in our power reactors, I am in the subsequent slide, I will touch upon those things in brief. Last slide, I have talked about that importance of human and organization aspect. Now, human resource development for in the nuclear power plants at the time of beginning, when the recruitment take place, elaborate training is provided. Say for engineers, it is for duration of 1 year, and for supervisors for 1.5 year, technicians, means all sort of people who are supposed to operate and maintain a nuclear power station has to be trained in our in-house training center, nuclear training center, with following the systematic approach to the training. Another thing, for a desk operation engineer who is sitting in the control room, there is a methodology of licensing those operation engineers, and during that licensing interview, it's a process, written examination, then subsequently clearing of the checklist, and then finally that interview with a high level committee, which committee incorporate the person from regulator also, and the senior person from the headquarter. Then only they will be allowed to operate control desk. Similarly, for a maintenance person who is responsible for maintenance qualification at various phases for engineers, for supervisors, for technicians. And during this training, the culture is being developed for the questioning attitude and technical independence. Further, during the entire career of official, refresher training programs are arranged on a regular basis so that people will not get out of touch. As in our speaker also told, that everybody should, sitting in the air-conditioned room, one should not take a decision. So the culture in a nuclear utility is given for the participative approach. Whether some event take place, root cause analysis, the participative approach is there. Any problem comes, that people are encouraged to talk freely and share their views. And for that, technical discussions are always welcome. So with this, next slide is operation and maintenance of a nuclear power plants. For any plant equipment or plant system, reliability of plant system and components are very, very critical. And to ensure that thing, all efforts are being done for the O&M staff. And for that, technically sound engineering strategies are being adopted. Radiation protection, I was talking in previous slides. In that ALARA principle, ALARA full form is as low as reasonably achievable. Means whatever job has to be planned in the radiation area, that for that health physicist person will assure it that person who is going for attending the job, for how much duration it is there, and what should be the distance he should take, what precaution he has to take, what clothing he has to wear. That is to achieve that ALARA principle in the working. This is for the people who are working in the O&M. High standard of industrial safety. Of course, this is industrial safety. I need not to, we are talking about throughout our this event about the industrial safety, the high standard of industrial safety, and trending of NMA, near miss accident and low level events. These are the things where our safety department as well as our technical department used to gather that information about NMA and LLEs, and they prepare a corrective action program to before it becomes a major incident or major event, it is taken care in a nuclear utility in that way, analyzing and then incorporating in a corrective action program. Environment protection, as I have already talked about that in the our mission of our organization, that environment we have to take care. So for that, in all the operating stations of the NPCIL, environment management system EMS in line with ISO 14001 standards, and occupational health and safety management system in line with ISO 18001 standards are adopted and being used during its operation. My next slide is another. This is very important thing in a nuclear utilities, human, because human can make a mistake. So to avoid that thing, human performance tools are given utmost importance. Few things I have listed here. Three-way communication, as we all know, where the communicator want to tell something, say some instruction has been passed to the lower staff or the person has to communicate it back what he understood. So that way, three-way communication, it has been confirmed, yes, you understood correctly. So this three-way communication is encouraged in our day-to-day working. STAR technique. STAR is full form is stop, think, act, and review. This is particularly for an operation staff who is operating, suppose a control room engineer, he is operating a hand switch, and he first stop before operating. Just like that, he will not rotate the hand switch. He will stop, think whatever I am doing, whether it is a correct operation or a wrong operation. And then after his act also, he review what are the consequences he has seen. See, this STAR technique is also encouraged or utilized in as a part of human performance tools. And the next is pre-job briefing. Any job, but particularly the critical job, are having a very standardized sort of a pre-job briefing. Apart from that, what is the current situation of the plant, that everything, and what are the job hazard analysis, what are the industrial safety aspect, and all these things are given in the pre-job briefing to the person who has to carry out the job. And questioning attitude, as I already told in my previous slide, are given in the culture. So they are encouraged to ask question whether they understood clearly or not. And that questioning attitude are encouraged. And as in the previous speaker also told, the procedure adherence, which is given most important, because procedures are prepared when the things are in a cool mode, not in a when things are becoming an accident scenario or in any condition. So that procedures has to be adhered thoroughly. And every job, at least critical job, have a QA check, quality assurance checks of the job to confirm whether it has been done as expected from the job performer or not. Critical jobs, before approaching to the job, because job requires certain importance that time duration is limited, or say job has to be, what tools has to be carried. For that, the mock-up is prepared outside the job area, somewhere in the workshop, or some place which is away from the actual equipment side. So mock-up of the critical jobs are being done. So what I wanted to say about that nuclear safety, but it has been told in a very brief manner, which is possible to explain to you or to tell you about nuclear safety in a short duration. Thank you very much for your patience listening.
Safety is not a gadget, but a state of mind. Thank you so much, sir. Safety is the key. It is up to you and me. So now I call upon our fifth speaker, Mr. Ajay Bajpai. He shall be covering the topic consultation and participation of workers. He is the director at Guardian Assessment Private Limited, BE in Metallurgy, NIT Durgapur, MBA, MSc Environment and Ecology. We welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Sushma. Thank you for the warm welcome. And I am really thankful to the team of ICS. You can hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I appreciate the efforts taken by ICS team, particularly by Mr. Sundar Kataria, who was my colleague long back, I think 30 years back in DNV operations. There we were doing product certification mainly, and then we came to system certification. So I again congratulate you all and the global team on to the National Safety Day. And I have put a lot of questions in the chat box. Maybe we'll discuss it after the this thing is done. So I'm going to talk of a very simple subject, that is the consultation and participation of workers. I always have been a trainer with respect to management system certification. So I always take a reference of a standard, which is ISO 45001, and the clause is 5.4, because anything discussed and tried to establish without a standard clause number does not go a long way. And so from here I will start, and I'm going to touch upon the poor worker.
Can you please make it full screen? Sorry for interrupting you.
I don't know how it will be full screen. Just a minute.
Bottom of your slide, there is one icon, or top also there is one icon. Slide show.
Yeah, it is okay now.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Perfect.
Perfect. So I was talking of CPW, consultation and participation of workers. You see, globally, I do not know. I have a question also to ask to you all. We'll discuss it later. What is the data available globally of accidents, and who are the main ones who are the sufferers? I don't have any data, but by virtue of my experience of little 35 years into the manufacturing sector, whenever any accident takes place, who suffers? It is the poor worker who is always suffering. This poor worker is always at the receiving end. Any accident takes place, any analysis is done, this poor fellow is made to suffer. He is made responsible. He is restricted, suspended, penalized, and so on. I mean, I have not seen many situations of accidents where the sufferers were from management or top management level, because he is in the front, he is running the machine, he is running the crane, he is running the car. When any accident takes place, the car driver is the first person to have fatal injuries or die. Crane operator is the first person who will be getting to the injuries. Loading and unloading operator are the first person who get into the injuries. Any machine failure takes place, the machine operator, the unloading, loading worker gets the shock of the accidents or near miss or whatever it is. So what are we going to look at today? See, this occupational health and safety certification have been in existence for almost 30 years properly. When I say properly, means it was called a standard somehow or the other. And now we are looking at a proper ISO standard being developed for ISO 45001, which has come out recently in year 2018, where most of the world population of standardization came together and they said, okay, let us understand OSAS as a common standard of ISO 45001 via clause 4.4, and the participation of workers have been given the key focus because they have understood there are various regulations, there are factory acts, there are this act, there are that act, there is the ILO, International Labour Organization. Every district country have got their own regulation, but now with the summarization, we always think that initial review, most of the organization who are going for safety management system certification or from aviation sector, as discussed by Mr. Babeja, it was SMS or any other sector into the nuclear power or hospital or hospitality industry. This is the worker or the lowest level person who needs to be consulted. His participation is very, very important. Organization, when they are going for initial review, initial gap analysis review, are they involving workers? I am into certification for almost 35 years. I would have been to almost all big and small industries globally, and I hardly found any industry involving workers when they go for initial gap analysis. Even for environmental purpose, one of the speakers have been talking, they do IER, initial environment review. Have they involved workers and operators? No. Normally, it is a team of consultants within the organization or from other unit or independent consultant. They will visit the organization. They will already have some documents in their hand. They will try to compare only, not really compare with what is the existing operations of the company, what are the hazardous conditions, how these workers, operators are suffering. So this is very, very critical. If we can involve these workers and operators from the very beginning at the time of gap analysis, then the system documentation, the drafting of the documentation, leave apart the standard documentation which is brought by a consultant, respect consultant, but the consultant, if they respect the existing organizational culture and existing document of the organization, then a robust system is prepared. So safety, as we discussed since the beginning of this seminar, safety first. Safety is everybody's responsibility. I remember जब मैं 35 साल पहले एक यंग इंजीनियर की तरह एक फाउंड्री में गया था, तो वहां पर कुछ लोगों ने कहा भाई चलो सेफ्टी की मीटिंग है। हमने सोचा हमारे से क्या लेना देना इस सेफ्टी का। हम 20-25 इंजीनियर थे उस कंपनी में, स्टील मैन्युफैक्चरिंग कंपनी में, लेकिन हमें कहा गया कि नहीं आप आइए बैठिए मीटिंग अटेंड कीजिए। हम लोग भी चले गए, मीटिंग अटेंड करी और हम लोगों को समझ में यही आया ये सेफ्टी तो सेफ्टी डिपार्टमेंट का काम है और इन दिनों सेफ्टी डिपार्टमेंट होते ही नहीं थे। इंजीनियरिंग डिपार्टमेंट के 1-2 लोगों को सेफ्टी की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी दे दी जाती थी। As a melter, as a metallurgist, when I was standing in front of the arc furnace, induction furnace, we used to do a lot of operations ourselves. We used to add, required elements into the furnace where the temperature was 1400 degrees Celsius. We used to switch on and off the button. We used to bring the arcs up and down. We used to run away to get the combination of the chemical this thing met. So we were the operators there. Same way our managers, many times they were falling into the same situations. So from the definition of the standard or from the definition of the 45,000, Anybody who is performing activity is a worker, is an operator. We have been visiting many office activities where ISO OSAS and 45,000 certification have been done. There were engineering companies. We were into a situation and a dilemma, and we could not understand 35 years back what safety precautions can be taken into office situation. But as and when we went into more and more depth, we have seen there are lifts, there are electrical cables, there are stairs, there is a kitchen, there is a parking area available, there are cars, scooter, bikes, people are coming, people are running. And then we have understood that yes, it is applicable everywhere. And slowly as an engineers, as we went on, we have understood more into this thing that yes, globally, the life of the human being is very important and it needs to be made safe. In India, somehow the concepts were not that enlightened. Life has been thought very, very cheap. Same is considered still in some of the cases, but we are trying to improve upon it. That yes, life anywhere in globe is equally important. So once understood this concept, yes, that safety is important. Safety is everybody's business. Safety is not for safety department. Safety is not for engineering department. Anybody, even at the road, even at the mall, when he uses the lift or the staircases, when he uses parking, when he is coming out of the area, when the in-out bamboo is falling down, or when we are at the home, the construction is being done. You know, most of the accidents take place during the construction. And these construction workers are fall prey to most of the accidents. But who is punished? They themselves are punished. Their neighbor will be punished. I hardly have seen any management being punished. Other than the Uphaar cinema case where the border movie was going on and there's a big fire, the directors of the Uphaar Green Cinema has been punished. They are still in prison, few of them. But this is only one case. So many accidents keep on taking place in hospitals. Many hospitals in West Bengal have been put to fire because they did not have any emergency preparedness procedures. If they had, they were not trained. If the training was given, who was trained? The managers were trained, the firefighting team was trained, but the worker, who is the most important person when an accident is starting, when a fire is starting to break, when a crack is starting to break, when an earthquake feeding starts by the horse and cows and so on, they are the first one to act upon. But to our surprise, these workers and operators are not made a part of these activities. Recently, the revision which came into 45,001 has brought workers' involvement to a greater extent. They said safety committee has to be there. Safety committee concept has been there into this thing for last 30, 40, 50 years. But were workers being a part of the safety committee? No, they were not. If accidents were taking place, analysis was being done, investigation was being done, were the workers made to participate in the accident situation? No. They were only sufferers. They were only given some compensation after going to various courts. Situations are changing now because organizations are feeling if these workers, if they can be trained to conduct internal audit, and if they can be trained to implement the non-conformities raised into internal audit, then the success rate will be 90 to 95%. Organizations have shown us the data, and they said if these workers, if they were involved into initial environment review, initial gap analysis, if they were involved into drafting of the safety policy, I am yet to see any organization. Few thousands organizations actively are available who have gone for safety certifications, but I am yet to see any company who has involved workers into the documentation and drafting of safety policy. I am yet to see very few companies who have involved these workers and operators, the peons, the helpers into drafting and documentations of the health and safety objectives. I am yet to see few companies who will come out and they will develop a HIRA sheet, hazard identification risk analysis chart, where lead is taken by the leaders of the operating team, the workers, the safety team leader. There are very few organizations who will have the courage to make worker a safety team leader. If they don't do it today, we raise a non-conformity. But is the intention of non-conformity to see that they made them a leader? They should be conceptually clear. So this conceptual training of the worker operator involving the entire team is very, very important. We meet the requirement of global requirement. We always talk of SDG, Sustainable Development Goals, being set by UN, being set by even the IMF and so organization, to see how their loan amount is being run through drains, because all these acts are not being implemented to the situation there. Operator and workers are involved into this. So ultimate aim is to see that these workers, these operators, they are given enough authority. They are given enough responsibility. I have seen some of the companies who has authorized workers to put the red button. They have the authority to say red button is now pushed because safety is being compromised. But there are very few organizations, productions are on. Safety is at the back stage. Why? If this worker, this operator gets injured, how the machines will run? How the production will be completed? If a QA/QC operator is having a chemical accident, how the testing will be done? So it is useless to say by many great top leaders in the world that production is must. Safety is there good, quality is there good, but production must go on. Sir, your production will go on only when your workforce is safe. If workforce is not safe, production quality control will all go to dustbins one day. So our aim is to what? Reduce all sort of accidents occurred and near miss accident with the support of implementer at the ground. So this implementer, who is the implementer? The operator, the worker, the loading and unloading person, the driver, the store helper, the QA/QC helper who is handling the hazardous chemicals and the inflammable materials. They are the ones. If they are getting knowledgeable, they are getting trained, their concepts are being cleared, they are authorized to stop the production, then we can prevent, we can reduce, we can have undesired effects of global safety brought into control, and safeguard of human resources and all other resources is done. There is a myth that only the safety is for the human beings. No, safety is for everybody. All machine needs to be safeguarded. Then only the production will go on, sir. All animals around us have to be safeguarded. Then only the dairy milk will be produced. Then only our workforce and we will get the energy to perform the activities. If animals are not safeguarded, if greenery is not safeguarded, how we will breathe into the organization? So when we talk of all resources has already been defined by me, but there are many more elements into this all resources. Let's go further. We have to provide mechanisms for the training and resources necessary for consultation and participation. Workers' presentation can be a mechanism for consultation and participation. Many organizations have got a lot of unions. We always try to involve those unions into our safety operation, safety activity. And we try to break the barriers and the threats which are there into the policy, and wherever they discourage and wherever they penalize the worker operations, the voice should be raised through safety committee or through the workers union, so that the consultation of non-managerial workers is emphasized and they can come forward and they can participate, and then safety becomes the responsibility of everybody. It is not the top management who will issue some directions, who will make some policy without consulting. So we want, and we have been emphasizing, and we believe in certifying only those companies who had maintained their systems, particularly now by addressing clause 4.5.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Sir, sorry to interrupt, sir. Sir, we can, the time is limited, sir. So, and people are also leaving, so that we can just run fast, sir.
I know. This is the last
Yeah.
slide for a
Yeah, okay,
information and for the information of everybody. So CPW and related HERA plans have to be implemented, and then monitoring of all the processes to optimize the safe working needs to be done by utilizing the workers and operators. Analysis of all unsafe conditions can be done only when we are consulting the workers and operators. And we need to develop the chart of metrics for CPW and HERA so that the improvement and development takes place. So the key functions, the key thing here is the worker, the participation of worker and consultation of worker. If we can involve him, the war is won globally. So thank you very much for giving me the time and making me presentation and clear. Thank you.
Working safely is like breathing. If you don't, you die. Thank you so much, sir. Let's begin with the panel discussion. I would like to introduce Professor Suresh Sharma. He is a senior scientific officer with DAE NPCIL for 30 years, visiting professor at business school. Currently, TQM consultant and MDP facilitator corporate, communication consultant to technical sector. He is BE in mechanical, PG in management, ISTD in training and development. Experience in quality management, environmental management, health and safety training and development, corporate communication, nuclear engineering. We welcome you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Sushma. I think we have exactly about 23 minutes, before we wind up, and let's make it a very interesting discussion, So first of all, gratitude to all the speakers, for being so vocal, so candid about safety. I think the speakers have done a very serious job, and I only wish that these videos are disseminated as widely as possible to our friends in the MSME particularly. Why MSME? Because we had excellent inputs from the speakers, most of whom are from the organized sector, and these sectors are the ones where let me make it very clear that safety is a value. Safety is a part of the ethics of these organizations. Unfortunately, safety is not a value. Safety is not a part of the ethics of the majority of the organizations, who just come one or two rungs below these very, Navratna organizations. I'm sure senior people like Mr. Godia, Mr. Baveja will agree with me. The sectors we have been talking are the benchmark sectors on safety, basically, be it the nuclear sector or the aviation sector or the oil sector. So let's now just, have a very interesting discussion instead of basically, summarizing what each speaker said. Let me invite Dr. Kataria first. Kataria, sir, welcome. And You are always bubbling with energy and enthusiasm. First of all, thank you for arranging these events. Out of all the, 30, 40 odd certifying bodies in this country, I have yet to find a certifying body taking this responsibility of disseminating intellectual capital. And I'm so glad that under your leadership, ICS is doing a wonderful job. Something which started in COVID time continues to be done now also, thanks to your initiative, your interest in this subject. So starting from Dr. Datarji till Mr. Ajay, we have had a very interesting round of presentations. In fact, let us now hear from Dr. Kataria. So you started off with the nuclear sector and then you went to the oil sector. क्या similarity आपको लगी मतलब in terms of safety? You can always talk in Hindi also, because I think many of our audience would be very comfortable in a mixture of Hindi and English. So you were in the nuclear sector first, and you were writing a book on that sector and the oil sector and all your experiences. तो सेफ्टी के जो वैल्यू सिस्टम है या इथिकल सिस्टम है, इन दोनों सेक्टर्स में क्या सिमिलरिटी लग रही है आपको और क्या डिफरेंस लग रहे हैं? लाइक
Thank you, Sharma ji. It was, I would compliment all the speakers. Really, they are having hand-on experience on the activities, nuclear, oil and gas, even the safety, and even Ajay Bajpai from the certification. Quite a lot of input has been given, and they were within the scope. And when you say the nuclear as well as the offshore oil and gas, I think it has a lot of similarity, because these are the high risk, very high risk, where you have radiation, a lot of risk. And even oil and gas also, I think they should have the same culture, which Mr. Jaipuria has emphasized, that safety first. In oil and gas also, there has to be safety first. I can, if you have time, I can cite one incident of my experience working.
Yes, sir.
for last 3
Sir,
decades.
this discussion is only for stories and experience sharing. Baki, we have had
Okay.
good presentations already, So
Thank you.
Please.
Thank you. When you see that I was offshore, that time I was supposed to certify the lifeboat. A lifeboat which underwent some minor repairs. It got some dent or some cracks which was repaired using this resins, and they repaired it. And then they asked us to certify it. Then I put my foot that saying that I'll certify definitely, because this has major repair. On the boat, at the bow, there was a crack and it was repaired. Now I say it has to be repaired as per the applicable standard, and it has to be tested. And then discussion with ONGC, Big Boss says even it went up to the head office that the surveyor is there. He wants testing. Then we prepared the test protocol, and that water jetting is there, and then that has to be lowered in the sea, and it has the engine has to be working order. Then it has is available from provisions are there. I says unless everything is present as able to certify, then you will surprise. My insistent, they agreed, and it took almost 3-4 days to test that lifeboat, where a lifeboat has to be available 24 hours. It was not available. Winch was not working. System
Sir.
also has to be acting a few minutes. It has to be on the sea, and then
So we are losing your audio.
not handle the boat.
Hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
are you getting me now?
Yeah. This is better.
Yeah. Sorry, I was that. They were able to even handle the boat when it was in the sea, and with a great difficulty, because I don't blame them. As Mr. Ajay Bajpai said, people have to be involved. workers have to involve, operators have involved. It was not there. They never lower that boat in the water. They never run around in the sea, how they are maintaining. And top of it, after the done all this testing and other thing, and then again they had difficult to de-hook it and lift it up. They were not able to de-hook it. They couldn't. And then they started this action.
Nahin, sir,
When there was incident at Abhiyo, we could save all the people except few people could not survive. Otherwise, almost more than 100 people could be survived because of this testing, because of this mock-up drills, emergency mock-up drills. They have included all these things. That's my experience, which I want to share. It is very important that we should have proper system. Thank
Okay,
you.
good,
Thank you.
good. Thank you, sir. And now I think let us have something more from Mr. Suresh Godia ji, because all of us will be curious to know from him. Suresh ji, my only worry for the aviation sector is that aviation is also a benchmark in safety. Actually, it should be a benchmark. It already is. But despite that, India is, at a very low rank at the about 48, 50, 55. That is how the rank is varying, year after year. 48, 50, 55. Is that a good and okay figure for aviation, sir?
Aviation, if you see now at the India rating, as an individually, it is a good, only as you know, the DGCA, which is the regulatory authority, Director General of Civil Aviation, they had some restrictions and they were asking for to be autonomous because they were in the old mode of the working, as I said in my slide, that who did it, you fix the person. So this was attitude with DGCA. Now it is started changing, and with new audits which was conducted by FAA, if you remember 4 years back, they were downgrading Indian safety standards. They were not allowing the flights to come there to US and all those things. Then their FAA people came, federal people, and they started grooming the DGCA. Now they are very soon, I'm expecting they will become autonomous so that they can work more freely other than, under pressure from the government, other things. So that is very important to have a very fair investigation, and whatever incident accidents are happening, it should be publicized so that people learn the experience from that. Now, what is happening? We are believing in hushing up things. So when you hush up, the real fact doesn't come out. So how do you then, improve? Because as I said, today's culture, if you see the transport, this one, Canada Transport Investigation Board, they publish the whole their incident investigation, and we try to hide and take long time to investigate. By the time, during that period, one more will happen. We had that is why, but still we are at very good rating, and I would be very happy and very proud that our national carrier India, being with a lot of high safety standards, we never used to cut the corners. The main reason behind this was that we were being in the government and we were very sure we are government employees, nobody can fire us. So what happened? We were very free mind to take the decisions and be very fair in the investigations. Of course, there will be some pressure here and there, but this was the only case. And with the privatized, with the motive of making money was the reason where they will cut the corners in the safety area. But now with the competition coming and more international organization, there is certification coming, the requirements are coming. So definitely safety standards are going up and still go up. Like we have a IATA, IOSA certification in the aviation industry. So Air India is one of the Star Alliance. So all this, when you get accreditations, all those things you have to maintain, they have a good quality control.
Okay, Suresh ji, I'll cut you short here because aapne jo bataya, that is very clear now. One thing was very clear, ki the private players are, more worried about the, as you said, ki there are so many latent flaws somewhere, Chota mota technical fault hota and they allow the aircraft to fly. But Air India never did it. I know that. I have been personal witness also. कि छोटा फ्लॉ भी रहेगा तो they will आपको 2 घंटा डिले कर देंगे, but they will not fly you, you know.
Yeah, that was
The
there.
focus of the private people was always कि you milk this cow, you know, पहले दूध पहले निकालो, बाद में इसका इलाज कराओ, you know. That was the kind of attitude always. But still, I think matlab, it's a matter of concern कि being technically, I mean, so much of talent is there in our country, so many, you know, there is no dearth of qualified people, competent people. उसके बाद भी our ranking is, you know, very low even now. That I think we all have to admit, you know. अभी 48 पे चल रहे हैं हम लोग मतलब.
No, but this is because, you know, sometimes people see the rating of the class depends upon how is your parameter you consider for the rating is very important. This point was discussed long back, 5-6 years back when there was accident and all those things. So they see you must see the safety data of, you know, long period, not take the just 10 years, 20 years. I mean, take a long period and see. Still, the Indian aviation is doing
Agreed,
very well.
agreed. I think we still we are safe, but
Yeah, but we are still, but there is always a scope to improve. As I said, more of private operator comes and more accreditation and certification comes, then definitely we are on the improvement. And you just observe after 5 years, you will see we will be the one of the best in the Asia, I would say.
Sir,
Great.
we have limited time, so we have a lot of questions on chat.
yeah,
If
yeah,
the
we'll come
group
to
can
those
take the
questions.
questions on chat, I think it will help all the audience.
We have time, so 10 minutes we have.
Okay, sure.
Paveja sir, I mean, something interesting we want to hear from you about the role of oversight by OISD. Like अभी सुरेश जी ने जैसे point out किया कि DGCA में थोड़े issues रहते हैं being, you know, controlled by the government and all. How about OISD? Is it, you know, playing its role diligently in ensuring the safety of oil and gas sector, और वहाँ भी इस तरह के issues हैं?
Well, you have put a very valid question, Sudesh ji, because All India Safety Directorate, when it was first institutionalized, it was early 70s. As soon as there was a nationalization of the oil industry, during that time, immediately there were a series of a spate of accidents and fires. So this All India Safety Directorate was institutionalized, and they have come out with large number of standards which are relevant in each and every aspect of the operations of oil and gas sector, both for upstream as well as for downstream. Now, as far as upstream is concerned, they have been also empowered with the, so to say, statute that they are the regulatory body. But as far as the other sector is concerned, that means refineries, plants, and LPG bottling plants, aviation stations, since they are on the land, there are many regulatory bodies, including factory inspectorate and other bodies which are involved. So they are important regulatory and statutory bodies. To that extent, there is a slight downplay of the OSD role as a regulatory body. But OSD guidelines, OSD standards are applicable to every industry, every sector of the oil industry, whether it is upstream, downstream, or whatever vertical of the business they are into.
Thank you very much, sir. I think Mr. Dr. Sundar Kataria was also a part of the OISD sometime. So maybe if he can also throw some light, it will be great. Thank you, Babaja.
Allow me to finish my statement.
Oh, sure. You are very much welcome.
Now, there is another regulatory body, which is Petroleum and Natural Gas Regulatory Body, and they have got the statute of a regulatory body from the Government of India, and they are controlling many of the aspects related to safety and related to various installation, erection and commissioning, and post commissioning operations. They have institutionalized quite a lot of standards on that. Over to Mr. Kataria.
Thank you, Baveja sir. Thank you, because these are.
Thank you, Baveja sir. Just few words about it.
Yeah, because when we were doing a lot of work,
we got you, Mr. Ajay. We got you. Please, I mean, we have only 8 minutes. Please.
I'll reply you. If you see this, this regulatory OISD, still it is the peer review body. So whatever recommendation they give, it is not to be, the operator can decide about it. But then PNRJB, that is a regulatory body. So they regulate it very good on the gas. As our Provisor Saab has told, on the downstream side, unfortunately, we don't have any regulatory body apart from OISD, which is again peer review and they give recommendation only. And the second thing, of course, PESO is there from Nagpur, who are also controlling those downstream side. That's correct. So we have to see, but again, some government has to initiate some action to bring the for downstream side some regulatory body.
Great,
That's
sir.
what
Great.
I feel.
No, fantastic. Now we come to Mr. Jajpuria, then we'll go to Dr. Datar and Vajpayee ji, and then take 2 questions, 3 questions. Jajpuria sir, apna, this is the AERB, which is the regulator for nuclear, basically. Do you think ki, matlab, they are completely above all these considerations where, somebody can actually point a finger and say ki our regulator is under government control and all that? Because I think even Kataria sir will agree ki there has been no comment on the working of the regulatory body in the nuclear sector so far. There have been comments on other regulatory and oversight bodies, definitely. So what is your overall experience like? Are they tough? Are they good? Are they completely up? I mean, they are doing their job fantastically well. Can we say that?
Yes, I can say they are doing their job fantastically. Number one. Number two, they are totally independent body than our nuclear installations. They're totally independent body. And right from the design review and clearance, they work up to the decommissioning stage. As I told in my presentation slide also, AERB is having they themselves has prepared their documentation, and people have to follow that thing like in an operating power plant. Technical specifications have been prepared and approved by the AERB. So these are the documentation. Based on that, they carry out the regular checkups, and I don't think there is any flaw in that thing. I don't.
No, we are not looking at law at all. We are just looking at the effectiveness. That's all, sir. Law ka to matlab hi nahi hai, because I don't think we are capable or competent to find flaws with any regulator as such. It is only that the aviation mein there have been a couple of things like SpiceJet ke incidents, bahut sare ho gaye aur ye sab ho gaye karke. So there was a matter of concern. And in the oil sector, I think the record has been fairly good, if Voyager sir agrees. Fairly good, sir. Overall, if you see the number of the kind of, we have, hundreds of oil installations and gas installations and a huge network of cross-country pipelines and even city gas pipelines and all. So we don't find too much of, as we see elsewhere, those kind of major incidents or accidents.
To give you a figure,
yeah.
Sudesh ji, just to give you a figure, when the oil industry was nationalized, that time we were at about 30 million tons per annum of consumption. Today we are 260 million tons per annum of petroleum product consumption. So refineries have grown, installations have grown, operations have grown. It's a phenomenal, but we are really, in a sense, well protected as far as the the incidents are concerned.
Very true, sir.
There are 2 things I want to share from the welcome speech of our Dr. Kataria. Last 6 decades, there was no nuclear incident in India. That is told, and it is a very appreciable factor, and that regulator plays a vital role in that thing to achieve, apart from implementation. Second point, just now he has told that some industries, they are doing some sort of a peer review. It is not like a peer review. They are the authorities to permit us or to carry out certain things like design stage review and then permission or licensing of the operator. All these things are in the control of AERB. So it is, I fully agree for that thing. AERB is doing their work in a very nice manner.
हाँ सर, उसमें AERB ने बोल दिया, मतलब बोल दिया. Nobody will question it. I mean, absolutely, like, and to be fair to the aviation sector also, अब जैसे बवेजा साहब ने कहा द रिफाइनिंग हैज गॉन अप, द नंबर ऑफ इंस्टॉलेशंस हैज गॉन अप, एविएशन में भी तो यही हुआ है ना, एंड दैट्स व्हाई आई थिंक वी फाइंड दोस स्ट्रे इंसिडेंट्स। एविएशन कितना कितना एक्सपैंड हुआ है, कितने मतलब नए ऑपरेटर्स आ गए। इफ यू कंसीडर द नंबर ऑफ लैंडिंग्स एंड टेक ऑफ्स एवरी डे, I mean they have gone up by matlab, the quantity will be in millions, you know? Yeah, right.
Yeah, Sharma ji, I have a small point about the nuclear now.
Please, sir.
Since there is a good regulatory board and there are no accidents, major accidents to have taken place. One thing we had to also follow the international the systems and protocols and all those things. Now ISO has brought a new standard now, ISO 19443, which is specific for nuclear power plant, nuclear power generation. I think it is a high time that we should implement that in India in big way, and all the nuclear component suppliers, supply chain, they should be covered under that one. What is your opinion, Dr. Sudesh Sharma?
Sir, मैं तो आपको तो we went to NPC, we met Mr. Atul Bhandarkar, Director Technical, and he was fully उन्होंने ही suggest किया था and to start, you know, preparing for an awareness session and things like that. Incidentally, I shared the standard with Mr. Jajpuri, and now I want to share it with Mr. Baveja also, because he also, you know, is an excellent, you know, like auditor of management systems and a very proven professional. तो ये तो है सर, ये तो आना ही है. I think L&T has taken the lead now. आपको पता है हजीरा में उनका सर्टिफिकेशन अभी रिसेंटली हुआ है. So people will follow. Dr. Santosh sir, सब ये इंडिया में ना, and I link with what Mr. Bajpayee said, you know, Bajpayee ji ने कहा था participation of workers and occupational health and safety and things. So I'll just link two things together. What is happening, just last week I went to a company in Vasai, you know, and this company is applying for, you know, they want to sell their technical products through Amazon. And Amazon ने उनको बोला, you cannot sell to us or through us. You have to get SEDEX certification or social accountability 8,000, SA 8,000. Otherwise you cannot, we will not do business with you. अच्छा, वहां पे जब उनका हालत देखी ना, तो ये वाजपेयी जी तो बड़े मतलब आगे की बात कर रहे हैं कि इंडिया में अभी this is how the, you know, MSME sector operates. I mean, it's very shocking. उनके 15 दिन तो आते हैं, ये बैच आता है 12-15 लोगों का काम करने के लिए, फिर वो उनको निकाल देते हैं, फिर वो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर नए लोग सप्लाई करता है उनको. उनके पास कोई लेबर नाम का कोई सिस्टम ही नहीं है. So there is nothing like a system of, you know, organized labor. Or to where is the question of training and inculcating a value for safety, and किसको train करेंगे वो लोग और क्यों करेंगे? So this is the way the whole, you know, apparatus is operating, and we are talking of, you know, occupational health, occupational safety in a setup like this. You know, we have been basically exposed to the organized sector, you know, the sector where people work responsibly. ये इंडिया का जो बाकी का हाल तो ये है डॉक्टर दातार. तो occupational health and safety takes a back seat, you know. So
Is it a question for me?
yeah, it's a, I mean,
One solution is that in an industrial area, there could be a common facility of occupational services, and all the industries can utilize it. That would be the best solution.
but you have also been auditing for QHSCA. You have seen a lot of, you know, अभी you spoke about mental health also, for example. अभी तक तो हम physical वाले range से बाहर ही नहीं निकल पा रहे सब वो जो so mental का तो, I mean, have you really seen companies focusing on mental health? मतलब that is my
Organized sector, yes. Unorganized, I really do not know.
अच्छा, mental they've started focusing.
Yes, yes, of course.
In what ways? One or two ways.
This mental health means there are, see, first of all, there is a provision of a counselor, so that the employees can phone them. There are visiting counselors at the site. There are a lot of sessions also at the site. So
अच्छा,
things
okay.
are improving now.
Mr. Sudesh, can I have one question for Dr. Santosh?
Yeah, please, sir, please.
Dr. Santosh, fatigue management system, is there anything, any tool for that to measure it? Because, you know, it is very much requirement in the aviation, and I think maybe all industries, you know, okay, how to measure the fatigue of an employee?
No, no, to be very frank, I really don't know. Because fatigue is basically, fatigue is relieved by rest. Simple. Weakness is a symptom, it's not relieved by rest. Fatigue is relieved by rest. And it will be physical fatigue as well as a mental fatigue also. So
Yeah,
there are various mechanisms like work rotation, and they are available. Okay.
No, why I'm asking, there are
Yeah.
many industries which they ask that मुझे 4 घंटे के बाद 8 घंटे के बाद मुझे रेस्ट चाहिए, 1 घंटा मैं आराम करूंगा, ये करूंगा, वो करूंगा. And when he goes home, he doesn't sleep. His own personal reasons. When he comes to the work, he is lot of or mentally fatigued. He does anything wrong SOPs and he does the mistake and does the accidents. And who is loser? The company is loser. So I want to know how to take the control and measure of the fatigue system in the employees, and same time ergonomics is also another reason that people that is
Yeah.
at the employer, that's kind of the employer. But at least the person who's coming for the duty, he should be have a full dedication and fresh of mind coming when he comes home. I mean, work, he has so many demands, so many things. कि मेरे को इतना रेस्ट दो, मेरे को ये चाहिए, वो चाहिए. But when he goes out, he's enjoying. So that is what I will say. That
No, this
was
is a social problem. So management has to be firm in that. You are here employed for work. So if you are not able to work, take leave and you can come back to work, take your own leave and come back to work, unless it is a work related thing. So basically physical fitness. So we are doing the regular evaluation. Then as I said in my presentation, per request. Suppose this worker is asking for a lot of, the employees are asking for a lot of, rest and all that. He should be, if there's any reason for him to give a rest, unless, the work involved like ergonomic assessment. Ergonomic assessment of the workstation in industrial hygiene studies is absolutely essential. So accordingly, you can plan their rest periods. So rest, one is job rotation and second is a work rest cycle. These are the two effective tools to deal with this problem.
Good. Anyway, before
but
yeah.
sir, in one aviation, what you started is that pre-flight, a doctor is the dispatch area before he goes for the flight. He puts up some question to the captain or
Yeah.
flying crew, and then they
Yeah.
can find out where is his presence of mind. So that is the
Yes.
way few things have been done for the fatigue management to find out.
No, to be very frank, I really won't know after this system, but
Anyhow,
study and
sir, thank you
assessment,
very much.
yeah,
This is, Suresh ji, this is a very good input for all of us,
Yeah, yeah,
कि
yeah.
fatigue को भी measure करते हैं aviation में. Yes, I mean वहाँ पे
Yeah.
they're so particular. वो
Yeah.
पूरा का पूरा फ्लाइट को ही एक दिन कैंसिल कर देते हैं अगर उसका ड्यूटी आवर्स ओवरशूट हो गए हैं तो
Yeah, that is there.
you find these in news almost every week. Now there are some questions, and Mr. Ajay was very, I think, almost to the point of being vocal and empathetic about it. तो उनके questions हैं, why are safety professionals not being paid? Who will answer this question? Kataria sir, is it a question he is subtly directing at you?
Not really, not really.
I mean,
I don't think so.
why safety professionals are not paid, No, I feel ki it could be, I mean, and Mr. Kataria being an employer is the best person to answer this question. We are not capable of answering this question, actually.
No, basically, if you see, today we are talking about whatever industry, if you take offshore or marine industries, and the mental health and behavioral safety, people are taking it, and it is well organized, how many hours he has to work, how many days he will be offshore, how many days are going to be on the marine voyage. All these are very good, even if you, today's big health safety hazards are there. I don't know how much they cover it.
सर ये तो जहाँ रेगुलेटर ने डिक्टेट किया है ना वहां तो बहुत अच्छा हो रहा है और फिर कुछ सेक्टर्स हैं लाइक आईटी इज एक्सेलेंट इन ऑल दिस थिंग आईटी इज फॉलोइंग द एविएशन प्रिंसिपल्स ergonomics सबसे अच्छा आईटी सेक्टर में कल आपने देखा वो बिल्डिंग ग्रीन बिल्डिंग
very
that was not the IT sector of course that was the legal sector but you saw the kind of ergonomics and the kind and Saturday Sunday they never work कुछ भी हो जाए, Saturday, Sunday, my people will not work. The company says they will not even attend a Zoom call on Saturday, Sunday. तो
सर पैसा क्यों नहीं मिल रहा है सेफ्टी प्रोफेशनल को? मेरा
अब
सवाल
अगर ये इनका क्वेश्चन देनी तो इनको आज नींद नहीं आएगी। ये क्वेश्चन बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है सर।
सर बहुत लोग परेशान है, सेफ्टी में इतनी क्वालिफिकेशन लेते हैं, दुनिया भर की पढ़ाई करते हैं, बट अल्टीमेटली उनको फैक्ट ऑफ द लाइफ है कि एवरेज सेफ्टी प्रोफेशनल आफ्टर
नहीं 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 साहब, आप अजय जी आप जनरलाइज कर रहे हो। गोदी अजय भी सेफ्टी प्रोफेशनल है, खार में घर खरीदा है अभी उन्होंने। यार आप कैसे बोल रहे हो नहीं मिलता है?
सर वो तो लोन पर ले लिया होगा ना घर तो।
नहीं नहीं, लोन पर नहीं ले लिया होगा। ही इज वेरी इज कैश रिच, ही इज अ सेफ्टी।
सर मैं उनकी फाइनेंशियल डिटेल की एनालिसिस मांगूंगा तो बड़ा मुश्किल हो जाएगा।
हाँ,
basically
नहीं मैं बोलूंगा सेफ्टी पीपल आर, I would not say paid as good as pilots, but at least it is not bad. It is same line with the government, central government employees we were
No,
paid.
not at all. We are not talking of central government. who is employing only 10% of the person. We are talking of
But there is
90% MSME. 90%
but there is no
MSME
regret.
and payments are very, very low.
But there is no regret. But there is a lot of importance, and your value of the knowledge is there. And that is good enough to
आप
compromise.
बताई दो ना that you used to travel. प्राइम मिनिस्टर अगले दिन जाते थे, ये लोग पहले जाते थे प्राइम मिनिस्टर की सेफ्टी के लिए।
So it is not that कि we treated bad of the safety people. I would say कि we are satisfied and happy. May not be huge money, but it is okay.
सर
Good.
एविएशन में मिलता है पैसा, बाकी इंडस्ट्री में नहीं मिलता ना।
सर
एविएशन तो
कटारिया सर उनको आंसर कर दीजिए सर,
0.001% है
प्लीज कर
इंडस्ट्री का।
दीजिए।
बाकी लोगों के बारे में कटारिया साहब बताएं।
I think Ajay ji, this is a very questions because it depends upon organization. The corporate, they pay very good. If the private organization, of course, they cut short, cut corners. So I don't think we can discuss about this salary structure and other
We
things.
can't, sir.
But I know people in abroad are paid very well. Safety people are paid, and they are very well respected also. That I am aware of that one.
बहुत सही बोल रहे कटारिया साहब। I fully endorse you. Mr. Anand Menon was to join us from Baku today, Baku, Azerbaijan. He is a safety professional, and his net saving is 7 lakh rupees per month. Can you imagine? Company ने उनको वहाँ furnished accommodation दे के रखा, and every 3 months he comes home. So you can't generalize this. It all depends on our merit, our competence, and
चलिए
सबसे
सर,
बड़ी बात है,
इंडिया में ऐसा नहीं
तो
है।
आप इंडिया में क्यों रह रहे हैं साहब? सब पैसा
इंडिया में
अगर
इम्प्रूवमेंट की जरूरत है, देखें कैसे होगा। We'll see.
साहब इंडिया में है ना, मैं बता रहा हूँ ना, इंडिया में भी आपको चॉइस अपनी करनी है। मुझे पैसा चाहिए कि अच्छी कंपनी चाहिए, कि मुझे मतलब फैमिली से दूर रह के नौकरी करनी है, तो वहां भी चॉइसेस अपनी होती हैं कई बार ना। और कई बार फिर लास्ट में डेस्टिनी होती है यार, उसको तो आप नकार नहीं सकते।
चलिए साहब, हम इसको डेस्टिनी से रिलेट कर लेते हैं अभी तो फिलहाल इंडिया
डेस्टिनी
के
से कर दी, चलिए वो छोड़ दीजिए। देन बिफोर वी वाइंड अप, देयर आर व्हाई मेनी इंडस्ट्रीज आर नॉट गोइंग फॉर सेफ्टी। ये भी अजय जी का ही सवाल है, फॉर सेफ्टी सर्टिफिकेशन। Why they are not going for safety certification? Now tell me, my answer to this would be they are not going for safety certificate because there is not a requirement of any regulator in most of the cases. रेगुलेटर बोलता है, अगर कहीं पे रेगुलेशन है तो वो बोलता है मेरा सेफ्टी मैनुअल फॉलो कर लो जो मैंने तुमको बताया है, बस दैट इज ओके। आई डोंट नीड योर OSHAs, आई डोंट नीड योर ISO 45001, so that's why they are not going. And ISO तो वैसे भी वॉलंटरी है, ISO तो वैसे भी वॉलंटरी है सर।
थैंक यू।
और शर्मा जी, it is already covered in the Factory Act about the safety part. So let's not discuss it. Other standards are, and there's a voluntary. So one has to decide case to case basis.
Okay, because जितने भी क्वेश्चंस आए अजय जी के आए हैं, then he says global safety, ये आपका क्वेश्चन नहीं आया, आप थोड़ा elaborate करेंगे? Who is responsible? Global safety.
See, we are having different kind of organization in different countries. Is there some global organization who is looking at the safety of all individuals as global, who keep the data, who keep on developing the norms, and who keep on developing the guidance? So that is the question.
देखो लेबर
That is already covered. That is already covered in ISO 45001. That is already covered, the global standard.
I can talk about aviation. We have an ICAO body,
Yes,
it's,
something like that. Absolutely.
which governs all the local country regulatory authorities, and they give the broad guidelines, and then the countries has to follow that minimum those guidelines and plus their own guidelines. So this is the way it works globally, all maybe
Yes.
all industry that way.
Bilkul sir. Suresh ji,
Another,
and
I-
similarly in the nuclear sector, you have this
Yeah.
World Association of Nuclear Operators.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
ये question का answer simple है. Each sector have some international affiliations.
Yeah.
अपना जो ISO certifying bodies है ना, उनकी भी international affiliation होती है ना किसी के साथ में. So please, I mean, this question is a general knowledge question which you ask. It is a question of कि हमारे sector का कौन international affiliate है. तो न्यूक्लियर का आने का ऑयल का कौन है सर? बवेजा सर?
There are 2-3 different aspects in oil industry. One is which is related to carrying crude. So they get, under the international marine standards, they have to follow that. Similarly, when it comes to upstream, if the exploration is being done in the high seas, obviously, again, the marine and the coast guard and these international bodies are involved in that. When it comes to on the land, obviously, the specific country related regulations will apply. Now, in our India, we have got very strong body, that is PNGRB. We also have got other standards which are to be followed. And today, PNGRB slowly and steadily is taking charge of more and more controls onto the different disciplines of the operations of the oil and gas sector. Earlier, they were limited to only gas sector, but now they are entering in a big way. And to such an extent that they are asking for a third party approval even for a document what you prepare. If you have prepared a emergency preparedness plan for a location, that has to be approved by a third party auditor engaged by PNGRB, who is after due screening has been engaged. So gone are those days when there used to be a very shoddy document, somebody is preparing and multiple locations, same name is appearing, and some roadside person is trying to, or a small level consultant are writing some description, and that becomes a document. As far as oil industry is concerned, scenes are changing. PNGRB is taking more and more reins of control and command as far as the safety is concerned.
Great, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
At least, one good, before we wind up, my observation is at least we are not seeing those days, once upon a time, our railway minister, who was a great comedian also, Mr. Lalu Prasad ji, उन्होंने क्या किया था, कोचेस में एक एक्स्ट्रा 3 tier में एक बर्थ लगानी शुरू कर दी है ना, without consulting the, अजय जी आपका भी आंसर है, without consulting the workers of railway or the experts of railway, he started putting an additional berth, and then experts started shouting कि यार तुमने रेल चला दी, and those trains were running, because India में मतलब things run on the mercy of God also, no? So those trains were running, and this guy wanted to show his profits, and those trains were running. So this was the time when there was regulation. कहाँ गया सर उस समय? रेलवे के experts ने सबने मना किया था, don't do it, and without testing of tracks. Today आज कम से कम, incidentally, our MBM Jodhpur gentleman is the like railway minister, and we find a lot of focus on railway safety today. These things cannot happen, and this also incidentally happened. Very interesting. After the Kakodkar committee was formed by the government once upon a time, Kakodkar committee के suggestions थे railway man. Kakodkar ji is a nuclear person, you know that. Of course, he is not. You can't call him strictly a nuclear person. ऐसे scientist और technocrat तो all rounder ही होते हैं. So thank you, Kataria sir. Thank you, Baveja sir. Thank you, Dr. Santosh.
Thank you very much.
Suresh Godia ji, Gajendra Jajpuria ji, Mr. Ajay ji. Thank you all.
Thank you.
And I think we have overshot the time, and it's high time to wind up. Have a nice weekend. And best wishes for a very happy, colorful, and intoxicating Holi for all of you.
Thank you very much, sir. Namaskar.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Suresh. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you everyone for such a wonderful panel discussion. Going ahead, for vote of thanks speech, I would like to call upon Mr. Anandpal Singh. He is a regional manager north for International Certification Services Private Limited, BE in Mechanical. Experiences into qualified engineers in helicopter, airframe and engines for repair and second line maintenance of Aleut aircraft and their associated equipment. Qualified engineers for hydraulic trolley, ground power unit, DG set. Elementary courses in casualty, firefighting, crash and civil defense from Civil Defense Staff College, Mumbai. Lead auditor for ISO 9001, 14001, 45001, 50001, ISO 13485, SA 8000 and ISO 27001. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Sushma. And it has been such an honor to be part of this wonderful event celebrating the National Safety Day 2023. The theme for this year was reducing workplace accidents. And Albert Einstein has very well said that work injuries and illness can affect every aspect of life for worker and their families. And it was quoted by Mr. Rod also, if you are the proprietor or a managing director or head of a company, you are ultimately responsible for health and safety in all aspects of the business. This is what we were discussing today. So on this day, we take a pledge that we will make safety to our highest priority and do everything within our power so everyone go home safe every day. On behalf of Sundar Jesaram Kataria Foundation, an NGO, and International Certification Services Private Limited, a world-class certification body, I would like to extend my heartiest gratitude to our esteemed speakers, Dr. Santosh Datar, Mr. J.S. Babeja, Mr. Suresh Godia, Mr. Gajendra Jaipuria, Mr. Ajay Vajpayee, and our panelist, Dr. Sundar Kataria, who is a founder member of Sundar Jesaram Kataria Foundation and International Certification Services, and Professor Sudesh Sharma. Thank you, sir. And we should also thank, more thankful of our viewer that you attended our event. We hope you enjoyed the experience and looking forward to meet you again next time. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, Sushma.
Thank you, sir. I request everyone to please on their camera for a quick group pic. Everyone, please on their cameras.
Done.
No, sir, 1 minute. Yes, thank you, everyone. Thank you for attending today's webinar on National Safety Day. Thank you so much.
Please share the photograph and the presentation. Thank you.
Yes, sir.